Welcome, everybody, back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Brever, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and it's Sunday night, so you already know the drill. It's the last Sunday night of 2025 that we will be talking about some electric NFL action that we just saw in Week 17. And Logan, it all wrapped up with a phenomenal Sunday night football game, one of the best of the year, a shootout down to the very last moment. The San Francisco 49ers get past the Chicago Bears 42-38. They keep their hopes for the 1 seed in the NFC alive, and they win their 6th straight game. With the run that they're on right now, Logan, and how this game went down, does this cement the Niners' status as legit contenders to you? And what did you take away for them from this one?
I think both of these teams are legit contenders, man. Like, I wouldn't put it past either of these teams to have an opportunity. I think that they're both really talented, and they showcased how special these offenses both can be. Like, I honestly think the Niners and Bears formulas are both pretty similar to them going on a big run in the playoffs and them ripping through teams offensively. I think both of these defenses are flawed to the point and injured enough, the Niners at least more so than Chicago. And Chicago's gotten more healthy, right? Edwards is back. Edmonds is back. They've been battered all year. But I look at these teams as both dangerous because their offenses can just bludgeon you. And the Niners, albeit they're missing a ton of talent in this game, they're missing George Kittle, they're missing Trent Williams, they're missing a ton of guys defensively. You still see that offensive pop, and there's just a reliability that comes with betting on the 49ers year in, year out, it feels, under Kyle Shanahan. And I get that last year it was a down year for them. A couple of in-division games go a different way, and the Niners, literally one-play games, and they have a completely different outlook last year. I feel like they've been as consistent as any team year over year in producing offensive results. And again, they're missing a lot of key guys. They're still playmakers. Christian McCaffrey is an absolute monster still at this point in his career and gives this team such a high floor offensively. Maybe he's not the most efficient, but he's been a workhorse this year in terms of just how many touches he's gotten. Jake Tonjes has stepped up in a big way. You really trust Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings to deliver. And the guy, the patriarch of the Niners and why they're so successful every year is Kyle Shanahan. Like, there's just a built-in level of faith that you have with this offense, and that's why they can go on a run, right? The Niners aren't my favorite team in the NFC. I would still have them behind the Rams of the world, the Seahawks. I think there's a different level of talent with both of those teams, but I wouldn't say the Niners are completely outclassed or anything in comparison to them. I think they could go toe-to-toe at their best with either one of those teams, and I think the Niners are really solid, man. I had them in my top 10 contenders coming into this week. I'm playing both sides. I had the Niners in my top 10. I took the Bears to win this game because I thought they were a little bit hotter. And I think these teams are on even.
No, Logan, that's not the best way to evaluate. I mean, Caleb's a good-looking guy. I get it. Ben Johnson, he's a stud.
He pulled up in his quarter zip and his matcha, man.
Yeah, he couldn't resist.
It was too much.
You love it,
I think both of these teams are similar in terms of their contender status. I think that they're both really solid. But I wouldn't have the Niners among my favorites, but I think top 3, I think I could hear an argument for with the Niners, right? And I don't feel like there's a huge gap between them and some of the top teams in the NFC.
I think for me, the big difference between the top 2, which is the Rams and the Seahawks, has been the Rams and Seahawks for me, is totally the defense. That's where I do see major flaws with both Chicago and the Niners. And as much fun as this game was, and as much really good offense we saw from 2 really good offenses, we also saw a whole lot of bad defenses from 2 bad defenses. So there may be this assumption that we're looking at 2 11-4 teams. Both of them are playing potentially for the 1 seed. They would both have a path there if they won this game. These are 2 of the elite teams in the NFL. I still don't feel that way. For the Niners, it's really by no fault of their own. It's just the bad luck of having both Bosa and Warner out for the year. For the Bears, they've improved so dramatically. It's such a successful season. I still think they just don't have the defensive talent. So, yeah, we saw a lot of great plays from both quarterbacks, great play calls from these genius head coaches and offensive minds, really good plays from really good offensive playmakers. But I also think we have to understand the context that These are two bad defenses. Bears come into this one 29th in yards per play allowed. Niners come into this one 25th in yards per play allowed. Both these teams are bottom of the league when it comes to pass rush, especially the Niners. They probably have the single worst pass rush in football. You see that every single week, but I think as damning as any performance was last week when old man Phil Rivers, 44 years old, who all the credit to him. I love the story so much, but we were talking about in the game against the Seahawks, the Colts having to run like a gimmick offense, right? Because he just couldn't throw the ball downfield against that really ferocious pass rush and great defense. And then it was like he was sitting in these clean pockets and he was picking them apart and dotting them up. It's a problem. It's a major limitation for this team. Both these teams are pretty bad defensively versus the run, especially Chicago. They're horrible there overall this year. They've got pretty gaping holes in the secondary. Like, they're just flat out bad defenses. So when we're talking about the ceilings for these teams, that does bring them down to that second tier, in my opinion. But I do want to give credit to the offense we saw, and specifically the offense we've been seeing from these Niners, because when they've got the fellas healthy, and you mentioned the fellas aren't even all healthy in this one, but they've mostly been healthy for this last month and a half now as they've gone on this win streak, and they are just putting up points at a ridiculous clip, 35.7 points per game over the 6-game win streak. Because you think about what they were able to do just surviving with Mac Jones doing a really nice job filling in when they were down, Kittle for times, and Pearsall and Jawan Jennings, and everybody other than McCaffrey essentially was hurt. Obviously, that's without your starting quarterback in Purdy. They were respectable, but now things have really clicked into gear again, and you see all the firepower that they do have here. I do still think that Purdy is just better than Mac. As good as Mac was at getting rid of the ball quickly, being effective within structure, you do see that ability of Purdy to get out, escape, extend plays a little bit that does set him apart from Mac, although Mac also did a very good job. But there's just a lot of really good players in this offense. Like, even as Kittle is down, Jake Tonjes, Cal Bears legend, he's legit. And you have a brilliant offensive mind who is so good at drawing dudes open. And you have a superhero at running back, man. Like, the Niners have not been an efficient rushing attack this year, but they put so much on Christian McCaffrey's plate. He has 399 touches this year. That is already the most any player has had in the 2020s, and we still have a full game left. And it's the most any player has had since his own mark in 2019. This is the second time in 3 years. He's leading the league in yards from scrimmage. Like, just the durability, the ability to hold up physically with that sort of load. Obviously, he is the most valuable pass catching running back in the NFL for long stretches of this year. He's effectively been their number one receiver, just so crucial as a check down option. I just think you have to give him so much credit for how he kept this offense afloat early in the year with raw usage. It was a huge part of their formula. And even on a night like this, when again, they have more of their receiving weapons out there, he still gives you 23 carries and 4 catches. So they are very good. They are very impressive. They have ripped off some legit wins, but I do still worry about a defense that has probably the worst pass rush in football, and the secondary outside of Lenore is really spotty, and they lost their superstar linebacker. Like, it really is just bad luck. And Shanahan continues to make a strong case for coach of the year because of the place that they're in spite of those injuries, but you can't overlook them, and they were still on display even in a good win today.
Yeah, and I mean, shout out Robert Saleh too for gimmicking up the defense enough to get them. I mean, even in this game, like, I know that it's comical how much the Niners have been bit by this bug in the past and how they continue to get beat down by it. And if I had to settle them in, I think they're in a tier 2. The only 2 teams I would have in tier 1 in the NFC, I think, would be Seattle and Los Angeles. And then tier 3, Philadelphia would be at the top of my tier 3, but like, they're flawed too, clearly on the offensive end. I don't really think you can argue that with what we've seen throughout from them the entire year. But the Niners are as reliable as a team this dinged up can be. And I think the Bears have that same significant flaw. You know what I mean? The Niners gash them for 6 yards per rush this game, almost 9 yards per pass. They only stopped them on, I think, 3 drives in this game, 2 punts, and the 1 pick six at the start of the game from Brock Purdy. And that's kind of been Chicago's deal this year too, right? They've gotten the running game going in this winning stretch for them. Caleb's been able to figure it out in some big ways in second halves, and he's got some little issues to figure out. But this has been a big play defense. This hasn't been a defense that is able to get teams off the field or really stop them. Like, they go 7-10 on third down in this game. Like, this is it's what Chicago's been doing all year. They're a big play defense, and I think both of these teams' flaws are pretty much the exact same. I think this defense is going to be unreliable, and they're going to be relying on big plays to bail them out. But
totally agree.
I'd say all in all, I mean, a super encouraging year for the Bears, considering the fact they're going to win the NFC North. First year with Ben Johnson in house, Caleb. And you can criticize him, but I mean, he has improved, I think, leaps and bounds from last year, even though, again, some of the little accuracy concerns and some other Bears could have made a few more plays that maybe make this game tighter. Loveland, Burden. But, I mean, this is a huge success for them, man. You say before the season that Chicago is going to win the NFC North. You say that's massive. And the Bears finally have hope. I would say the ceiling for both of these teams, win a playoff game. If either of them got to the NFC title game, admittedly, I would be surprised, but I think they have the offensive firepower, both of these teams, to go on and I'm going to say this, and people may take a bit of a flukish run, a la the Commanders last year, right? Like, they have the volatility game to game where they could explode for 30 and 35 in back-to-back games and get there. But I wouldn't bet on it.
They can put up points on anybody, and they can also have points put up on them by anybody. The one distinction I would make when it comes to the elite offense, bad defense formula is neither of these teams do have that consistently elite quarterback that would just give me a little bit more confidence game to game versus really upper echelon defenses that can carry you on a run. But the totality of what these offenses can do is really impressive. And I think you look at both these teams and where they're at this season, for both teams in their own ways, surprising to some extent, really impressive, super successful regular seasons. It's just a testament to organizational brilliance. We glaze Kyle Shanahan all the time. I think he has been overall the guy who has elevated his offenses and his teams the most since he took over. The Niners have been such a consistent offensive machine, even as quarterback talent has changed and they've had injury issues, etc. But you also look at just the accumulation of talent that these teams have had and some of the finds. If it is an undrafted guy like Tonjes or Juwan Jennings in the 7th round, when they've hit on the splashy stars, trading for CMC, taking Pearsall at the end of the 1st round, George Kittle, obviously, they've done a great job. And then the totality of what the Bears have built with this offense, the stars of the game for them, along with Caleb Williams, are Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. You look at that is a hell of a draft class. They've put the right weapons, and obviously they've built up one of the best offensive lines in football. After 2 years ago, it might have been the worst offensive line in football. Last year, the interior offensive line still sucked. And they've also got the great offensive mind, the great coach, and the program builder. That really is the story of this matchup for me. It's just two really damn good organizations right now.
And you're talking about fines too, not just the offensive line. The Bears finding a guy like Manungai in the 7th round. Yeah, man, it's so rapid. But I mean, if you hit on picks, dude, if drafting Darnell Wright, I think he's one of the best tackles in the game right now too, right? This is what great organizations, this is what it takes to become one, right? Because I think San Francisco's been there and they've replenished. And honestly, another little ripple, and they mentioned this during the broadcast, dude, it's crazy to me all that the Niners have lost over the past 3 to 4 years, and they're still this damn good. And I don't really necessarily mean in terms of injuries every year, but literally players leaving out of the door, right? Hufanga in the secondary, one of the best safety guys in football. And year after year, Ayuk not being there anymore. Deebo Samuel out the door to Washington this year. And
it's crazy.
They just keep hitting, man. It's a testament to good coaches and great organizations. And that's how you do it.
It totally is, dude. I mean, you think about the 2019 team that went to the Super Bowl versus the 2023 team that went to the Super Bowl. The players of significance who were on both of those teams, you've got Kittle, obviously. You've got Trent Williams. You've got Fred Warner. You've got Nick Bosa. And there's just not that many more. They basically rebuilt the roster in a lot of ways, and they just sustained success. And that is why Kyle Shanahan is the most valuable person in the organization. For the Bears long-term, they're thinking Caleb Williams is the most valuable person in their organization. And I do think he's putting things together. Obviously, they don't get the win. This was a very good offensive showing, though. That final play of the game, there's really nothing he can do. I mean, you see it. Everything is covered. So he's just trying to somehow find a way to make a play. But I thought he was ripping throws downfield pretty accurately. I thought he was smartly throwing behind the blitz. He had that nice fourth down pickup versus the simulated pressure to Loveland where he didn't panic. He's just reading the game better to me now. And the accuracy still has to improve. And consistency is going to be the thing that's got to come together with Caleb. And we can't just proclaim, oh, he's consistent now after the last 3 weeks overall have been quite good. But even if you look at last game versus the Packers, I mean, there was a lot of quiet offense sputtering out. And then he puts together a couple of great drives and a couple of great moments. That's going to be the last thing to really click for him. But overall, I was really impressed. I do feel like he's trending upwards. I do feel like he looks like an upper half quarterback right now. And I think what's really going to be scary is year 3 Caleb with all the talent that he has in this offensive infrastructure with a great coach, as he can just iron out some of these areas in which he does need to be more consistent. But I was very impressed by him today and really like the direction he's trending overall.
I mean, Caleb's just got special traits, and it's not all going to be all at once. The one throw that stood out to me more than any, man, that early touchdown that he had to Burden was just jaw dropping, like legitimately.
Yeah.
It didn't look like he put anything into that ball, and it just was a missile right to Burden's hands. And he's got special arm talent. Like even, and the one thing too, like I thought the Niners did a really good job of blitzing and sending the house at him late and speeding him up. And that rattled him a little bit. Obviously, they still got in position to try and score a touchdown there at the end. But, right, if he makes that throw to Burden towards the sideline, like little plays like that, little accuracy stuff. But it's, again, with a guy like Caleb, it's like you can see that it's not an issue of does he have the arm to get it there. It's all in, can he get it done? And I just think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in football. And the Bears have a foundation of a dynasty. I'm not going to come out here and I'm going to say that. I mean, dude, I think you've got the two most important pieces. You've got the head coach and you've got the quarterback. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go out there and win multiple Super Bowls. I'm just saying, dude, you've got the two most important pieces, and they're both young. They're both, I think they both enhance one another. I'm just excited about the Bears, man. I think they have a really, really bright future.
Dynasty is just a very big word. I think they have the two foundational pieces of being a really good organization that's in a position to make the playoffs.
I'm just that high on Caleb, man. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in football one day.
Even that is not the foundation of a dynasty. I don't know. So many things have to go right for you to be a dynasty. You've got to be stacked overall, or you've got to have like a literal Mahomes.
It's not the right. I just mean, I think this team is going to be competitive year in, year out. I think that they're going to be competing for Super Bowls. I think that they're going to be there in the playoffs every year battling for it.
And this year, they're already ahead of schedule at 11 wins. Like, I loved the Ben Johnson hire. I thought he was going to be the best thing for them, and I still thought the division was going to be too tough. I didn't think that the defensive talent was there yet, and I still don't think the defense is good. But look at this, man. I mean, they have survived. They are leading. They have locked up the NFC North, and they are going to host a playoff game, and well-deserved, even though they have had their fair share of close escapes and they are flawed as a football team. They are a legitimately good football team, and they have continued to prove that. And I think you see that even in a loss today because it's against another really good team who they went toe-to-toe with. Let's look at the other matchup between two double-digit win teams today, Logan. The Philadelphia Eagles got a 1-point victory over the Buffalo Bills. It was a heartbreaker for Buffalo, who was looking to pull off yet another double-digit comeback, and they got to the brink before failing a 2-point conversion that decided this game. I think we start with the Bills in this one, Logan, just because it did feel like the game really was in their hands down the stretch. Where did things go wrong for them today?
I feel so shitty about both of these teams. The Buffalo Bills should never lose a game where their defense holds a team to 13 points. Like, that was my conclusion. They're shut out in the first half. I thought you had some pretty big errors and self-inflicted wounds. The Josh Allen fumble/pass I thought was an absolute mess. Basically across the board. I didn't think it was a fumble. I thought that Josh just threw it into the ground, and I thought they ruled it wrong on the field. That being said, I have to fault Josh Allen a little bit because it's like, hey, man, just don't put yourself in that situation. Hold on to the ball and take the sack.
And it probably would have been grounding because
so
the ball didn't get close to back to the line of scrimmage.
That was just inexcusable. Like, on all parties, I think that Josh shouldn't have done that outright. I don't think the refs should have ruled how they did. I thought it was very rich. Tom Brady was lecturing Josh Allen after the fact. Like, really? This fucking guy? This is going to be the guy telling you to hold on to the ball? Like, come on, man. Josh had another really bad moment, too, where, it's 3rd and 8, and he scrambles 1,000,000 yards backwards and take you guys out of field goal range. That's another opportunity because it almost compounds that decision. Bills have been very aggressive in 4th down situations in the red zone, and traditionally I am very pro-aggression, go and get the TD, like, go for it, and it compounds that decision because it's like, damn, you would have had 2 opportunities where if you kick either of those field goals, it's a 1-point victory for you. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a very pro-points guy. I like the decision to go for it at the time, but now this is now multiple games where if you flip a couple of those red zone decisions where you go for it and kick the field goal, it has some ripple effects of what you could have done potentially later in the game for Buffalo.
Are you talking about them going for it on the 2?
No. I was talking about them going for it on 4th down. I was saying, I can't remember what game it was. Buffalo had a couple of, it was against Cleveland, where that could have come back to got them. Didn't they go for it a couple of times in the red zone?
They had the drop touchdown.
Yeah.
So they went for it when they were like borderline field goal range and didn't get it, and then Knox dropped the touchdown.
It could have come back to get them, but
the second one.
It didn't. But it just, because they didn't even have an opportunity to kick the ball or go for it on 4th down again.
Yeah,
that becomes even more important of a drive. And then it's so weird, man. Like, Buffalo has sleepwalked through first halves more often than I've ever seen from this team before. And then in the second halves, they just flip a switch. The defense has been awesome in the second halves of these games. The Bills' offense, they stink. And then when you put them backs against the wall, they fight hard. Like, they almost come away with this one. And I'm going to be honest, like, I wouldn't have felt good about either of these teams regardless of how, like, this is a shitty game from both of these teams. And yet they have that miraculous hook and ladder to keep the game alive. What an awesome play call. That made me jump out of my bed watching that. And they almost win. Like, Josh and Shakir almost connect on that 2-point conversion. Like, if Shakir's a little bit quicker on the out route, if Josh throws that to where
it's on Josh.
Shakir is, like, I didn't know who it was on at the time, but, like, if they connect on that, it swings this game. But no, man, you feel shitty about both of these teams. The Eagles failed to crack 25 yards in the second half. Like, it just, both of these teams have, it's weird though. Like, the Bills just seem like they have something wrong with them different every game. I think the Bills are missing, I don't know. I still think they need that number 1 wideout. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It sucks that they whiffed on the Keon Coleman pick. Like, the fact that Brandon Cooks came up with such a big play for you guys, and Brandon Cooks is getting a ton of burn. I'm saying that as a guy who has MVS as one of his big-time starting receivers right now. But the Bills are incredibly frustrating, man, and I just don't feel good about either of these teams. I wanted just one of these teams to look good, and I feel bad about both of them.
I get it. I think you're being a little negative because I do think you have to consider the competition in both cases. Like, the Eagles' offense is obviously very, very flawed. I also thought the Bills' defense played their asses off and played by far the best half of football I've seen from them this season. Probably the best half of Bills' defensive football I've ever seen. So yes, there's the flaw. You also have to give props. I agree with you. The Bills' offense just did not make the key plays that they needed to make today. They did not play up to the standard that we hold them to. They are also going up against an elite Philly defense that has been playing some excellent football on that side of the ball. So I do think it's important to consider both these teams absolutely have their significant flaws. Neither of them played a super pretty football game today, but these are two double-digit win teams going down to the wire, two teams that do have more playoff wins than anybody outside of Kansas City in this decade. So again, I just think maybe you're being a little bit negative. That being said, it's a brutal loss for the Buffalo Bills. And what you said right off the bat is absolutely correct. This is a once a season kind of defensive performance from Buffalo. And they should never lose when the defense plays at the level they did. When you hold the opposing offense to 16 yards and 0 points in the second half, what do we always say? The formula is Josh and the offense lead you back. They carry you through. And they just didn't do that today, despite the fact that they actually moved the ball fine, considering the competition. They outgained Philly 331 to 190 today. They had 20 first downs to Philly's 11. They had 7 drives of 25 or more yards. Philly only had 3 such drives, all in the first half, and they outgained the Eagles 236 yards to 16 in the second half. All those metrics would tell you the Bills should have won this football game. The Bills probably should have won this football game convincingly, but they didn't. Why? Because when Philly had chances to score points, even if there were few of them, they converted, and Buffalo did not. You mentioned some of the key sequences, but Josh fumbling in field goal range, regardless of if you think that was the right call. Personally, I don't. That was costly. That took points off the board. Failed fourth down conversion from the 2-yard line. They obviously have to go at that point. Ironically, I guess you could say through some sort of like butterfly effect, maybe they didn't have to, but I just think it gets too complicated because they end up by failing on the one, forcing Philly to punt it back to basically midfield, and they get a short field, and then they score. So I think that they were always right to go for it in that spot when you're down 2 scores with the amount of time that was left on the clock. It's a no-brainer. But honestly, that's just a play that you're used to Josh Allen making, right? He's got to make Zach Bond miss. This has been the best rushing quarterback in football this year. This is a guy we think of as being one of the all-time greats when it comes to creating out of structure, making plays with his legs, and he just gets brought down a half yard short. That's costly. They have the play where, as you mentioned, Josh takes a sack that takes them out of field goal range on third down. And also, as you said, maybe they were never going to kick the field goal there because they were down 13-0, but you would have had another chance at a 4th and medium maybe because he had a running back open in the flat. No, you're not going to get 8 yards, but if you get 2 yards, if you get 3 yards, that's an okay outcome. You can kick, or more likely, you're going to go and you have a legitimate chance at converting instead of it being 4th and 20 something, and now you're in your own territory, basically. So that obviously was costly. And then probably the most frustrating play of the game is the blocked extra point, which is a hell of a play by Jalen Carter, who I think might just be the best special teamer in the NFL. And he's not even a special teamer at all, but he and Jordan Davis had the 2 blocked kicks in the Rams win earlier this year. And I legitimately think he significantly factored in to the calculus of the Bills deciding to go for 2 at the end of the game. Maybe they were just going to go no matter what. Maybe they were going to say, hey, let's put it all in one play. We're moving the ball right now. But my thinking would have been, honestly, you're playing way better than Philly. You're better served by extending the game, enlarging the sample size, because you've been dominating this game for a half. You can probably dominate it for an overtime period too. But I don't think the Bills had any confidence in the kicking game, which has been an issue these last 2 weeks now. And I think that Carter was part of that. But that blocked extra point then puts the pressure on them to have to go for 2, which is the final high leverage key play. Hey, you've been significantly better for a half of football, but this is the one play you need to convert to actually have something to show for it. And Josh just missed. Josh just missed the throw. Like, I think he puts that way too far out in front of Shakir, who was open. So even though I wouldn't have gone for it in that spot, I would have just kicked the extra point and said, let's play more football because we like where we're at big picture in this game. I wasn't like mad that they did go for it, and the play call was there. So Josh has to make that throw. That's what you pay him $50-something million to do. That's what we put him in MVP conversations over and call him the best quarterback in the NFL. So I do put this game mostly on him. That being said, I mean, I've seen some ridiculous narratives come out of this game already because this is just what people do. And a game can literally hinge on one play, but people want to talk in absolutes as if because of this one play that went one way, these teams were on polar opposite sides of like their caliber as football teams today, which I just think is ridiculous because I think the Bills offense was clearly much better than Philly's overall in the day. I thought Josh Allen played much better than Jalen Hurts, but he didn't play well enough. Like the Bills did everything they needed to win this game, except make one or two key plays. I mean, we mentioned actually a handful of key plays, but if they make any one or two of them, they win this game. And they didn't, and that's football. You have to make the clutch plays. They didn't do enough of that. So this is not a big picture concerning loss to me outside of the physical status of Josh Allen. Because again, he misses that big throw, right? That's purely just on him. It's a bad play. But the concerning thing about Josh's performance overall today, to me, was that he just clearly did not have his regular mobility. He didn't have his regular playmaking. I think you saw that with some of the sacks that he took. I think you saw that on that failed fourth down run. I think you saw it just with his general hesitancy to get outside of the pocket as he normally would. I think you saw that with the Bills leaning on the quick game some late and the run game late. Like, he just clearly was not comfortable. We saw him physically wince after another sack today where he tweaked that foot. He went into the blue tent for x-rays after. So that's the concern for me, big picture, because this team needs Josh Allen to be a superhero if they do want to make a run. Today, they honestly didn't. They just needed him to be pretty good, and he wasn't, and that's on him. But we know the story of the Bills football team this year is not an elite defense and a lacking offense like they ironically were today. Of course, their best defensive game is going to coincide with their worst offensive game because the Bills are just a really weird team like that. But Josh has got to be right. They need Dalton Kincaid out there. You talk about them needing that number one receiver. I agree, but Dalton Kincaid is good enough as their best route runner, as their best, most dependable pass catcher overall, as a good playmaker after the catch too, that like he does make this offense significantly better. He is a safety valve. He is somebody who can be something of a matchup problem and win one-on-one and win over the middle in a way that just like nobody else on this team does. His absence was felt today. Overall this year, the Bills are 9-2 when Kincaid plays. They average over 30 points per game. It's when he's out that they're 2-3. They only average 23 points per game. Several of their ugliest offensive performances of the year, the Atlanta game, the Houston game, today, that's 3 of their 4 worst offensive games of the year came without Kincaid. So I do think his absence is also important to note. And that's honestly my biggest priority for the Bills after this one. It's just like he needs to get healthy. And this Josh Foot thing needs to not be as big of a deal as I'm worried it might be right now.
Yeah, Josh's foot injury is my biggest concern about Buffalo. And then the other thing is, I think what also coincided with the Bills' 2 biggest losses is just the defensive fronts that they've run into.
Yeah,
I think that Buffalo can run the ball against anybody. James Cook and this line have proven it. But in terms of pass protection, like they've just completely fallen apart against Philadelphia and Houston. And, you know, they won't necessarily run into a team that can really expose that if they get lucky in the playoffs, right? If they ran into the Chargers, you know, if they ran into the Patriots again, if they play Pittsburgh or Baltimore, I don't really think those teams, I really think it could be schedule dependent for Buffalo in terms of if I think they can get out of the AFC or not. If they run into Houston, I'm going to take Houston. You know, if they ran into Denver, even though Bo Nix stinks, I don't know, and that's a pretty evening factor for me, which will probably make it like a coin toss, but like Denver and Houston in the AFC, I could see really exposing that kind of pass protection flaw and just speeding up Josh. And then again, you add that in combination with Josh potentially still being dinged up with his foot injury, Kincaid not being available. That could be enough of a recipe for me to pick against Buffalo. But those are my biggest concerns with them.
You're absolutely right to point that out. That's the other offensive concern here. The sacks that Josh Allen is taking this year, this has been a consistent issue, especially compared to where this offense has been at, where the 2 years before this, nobody was taking fewer sacks on a percentage basis than Josh Allen, which was a combination of really good pass protection, but also just his superhuman sack evasion. Now he's taken 40 sacks this year. That's a career high after he took 14 sacks in all of last season. Like, it was an extreme rarity to see him sacked multiple times in a game. Against the Texans, he was sacked 8 times. Today, he was sacked 5 times for negative 51 yards. I agree with you. The offensive line is getting cooked versus great defensive fronts. And those are a couple of really tough matchups. But, man, there was a play where Jalen Carter just straight up bull rushed O'Cyrus Torrence and was like threw him in a half second. That sort of interior pressure is going to blow up any offense's game plan. And that was the problem in the Texans game, right? Josh didn't play well, but he also really didn't have a chance in that game This is an offensive line that has the reputation of being elite. I do think they're a very good offensive line overall, but I agree with you. I've always said they are a better run blocking group than they are a pass protecting group. But the other problem is when you don't have receivers who can win quickly, you have to hold on to that ball a little bit more, which gives the pass rush more time to get home. And that's been another big problem when the Bills offense doesn't look great. It's just receivers not getting open. Sometimes even if Josh does buy time. And then the final factor is Josh has not had the same superhuman sack evasion. Today, obviously, I think the foot is a factor. But I do think overall this year, like, my expectation is if Josh is one-on-one versus a pass rusher, he's just going to find a way out. I mean, he's going to be too strong. He's going to be too shifty. He's going to make something special happen. And there have just been more plays this year where he's getting brought down on first contact. I also think his pocket feel hasn't been as great in terms of sensing exactly what moments he should escape, sometimes stepping up into traffic and just being responsible for some of his own sacks. So really all these things have come together for them to have triple the sack total they did last year. And that has set them back in some spots. Like we mentioned, that killed a crucial drive in this one. It was pressure and not a sack, but a called fumble that killed another drive. So that is something that they're going to have to prove they can really hold up against the elite pass rushes. But again, I do think it's also worth noting they haven't had the safety valve in the passing game. They haven't had Kincaid, that guy you can get the ball to in 2 seconds flat against either Houston or Philly. So I do think that that's made things harder on them. But overall, this was a big game. Obviously, this would have been a great win for the Bills. But in terms of like their actual standing, it wasn't the biggest. The division was probably cooked for them anyways, with New England really holding all the cards there and just having to beat Miami to wrap that up. In terms of wild card positioning, it would definitely be better to be in the 5 seed where they would have been with a win than the 7 seed where they are right now, just because you want to play the winner of the AFC North realistically. But I still think this game individually wasn't as important for the standings as it was probably for this team emotionally. Just wanted to get a big win against a good opponent. And again, above all else, probably this team just being healthy going into the playoffs. And we'll see about that. It's unknown. I saw something today that the Bills have had the 3rd most games missed due to injury this year. And now you've got injuries to some really, really key players. Obviously, Josh Allen is the most key of them all. But this does come down to that final sequence. I kind of gave my thoughts, but what did you think about the decision to go for 2 for Buffalo?
I liked it. I mean, that's what I think. That's what I would have done. I mean, I know the Bills haven't been that good in 2-point scenarios.
They're 1 of 7 this year.
I'm just like fuck it. I don't know, man. Like you can just, I don't know. You can just, I like the momentum swinging. I like the momentum swinging of the play. And I don't think the Steelers have been in many of those. The only one I really remember when Pittsburgh's done that was Monday Night Football against I think it was Monday Night Football, the Chargers, and Mike Vick was in at backup QB, and they like ran a Le'Veon Bell Wildcat play at the buzzer, and we ended up scoring. So I think the only time Pittsburgh's done it, it's worked that I can remember. But I don't know. I'm very anti-tie. So I really love anytime anybody does go for the 2 points. But I like just being able to say, all right, ball game. Put your nuts on the table. We're going to win it. Like I like the aggressiveness to just say we're going to go out there and win it. And that is, man, how close the Bills are. And Bills games, man, I don't get it, bro. You guys, Steelers and Bills both play games in Bizarro World. Like if you make the extra point, you just have to kick one more time to win. If Josh doesn't take that sack, you kick a field. You know, there are so many little things that just make this ending sequence much more avoidable.
Yeah, the extra point, it's hard to not keep coming back to, because I found that it's hard for me to talk about Josh Allen without people getting really, really mad. And I get it. I love the guy. I also think the guy's
a polarizing player, man.
Well, more polarizing than he should be, considering I just think he's got the best resume in terms of recent production of any quarterback in football.
Too many people still just do this dumbass, how many Super Bowls has he been to, buddy? And anytime we circle back to that logic, because that's what I don't even pay attention to shit like that anymore, because I know I've watched every playoff game of Josh Allen's career, and I know he's played nearly flawlessly in all of those games. So any regular season game where Josh Allen doesn't play when I've got 4 to 5 years of damn near perfect football from a guy,
6.
yeah,
Since 2020, he's been a top 2 quarterback.
A bad 2-3 game stretch is really not going to ever change how I feel about a guy, man.
Yeah, I agree. But what I was saying is I mentioned like on Twitter, if you just make the extra point, you win the game, right? I mean, presuming you can make another extra point. And people immediately were like freaking out as if like it's a crime for me to not immediately, first thing I say, be Josh should be drawn and quartered in the town square because he didn't convert that 2-point play. And it's like, that's on him, right? Because you have to exist in the reality you're in. And the reality they found themselves in was they missed the extra point. It got blocked. So now you have to make the 2-point play. Again, I literally said I put most of this game on Josh, but it is like, damn, when a 95% play doesn't go your way, and that's all that needed to go your way for you. When you can think about all these different moments, and they all do matter, and they all are part of the equation, but we also do such absolutist all or nothing thinking with these NFL games when it's like, if you just make an extra point, we'd be talking about all the things that went right for the Bills. And that's where I do think you have to look at the balanced takeaways for both these teams from this game when clearly this one went down to the wire. But like I said, I would have taken the point there. I do philosophically kind of differ when it comes to a 2-point conversion to win it from my general aggressive mentality. Go for it on 4th down if you've got a great offense and a great quarterback, and the stuff I usually espouse on here for a couple reasons. One is game feel is always super important. Like if you're trying to steal a game on the road, if you feel like you're not the better team, then I think go for it generally, right? Put it all on one play. If you think you are the better team, then I tend to say extend the game. And the other element of it is I just think when you're leading a comeback, you have to execute clutch play after clutch play after clutch play. That sometimes to me, it's like putting one more clutch play on your plate. It's just a lot of successive consecutive plays that have so much riding on them that have to go right for an offense. That's kind of how I felt for the Bills after they put together 2 long touchdown drives. I'm like, if you look at the last 4 drives, you went 67 yards on one, you had a 54-yard touchdown, you had an 83-yard touchdown drive. The Eagles on their last 4 drives went 0 yards, 2 yards, 4 yards, and -2 yards. So my thinking would be, if you give them another drive and you get another drive with how things are going, that is going to favor you more than putting it all on one play right now against a great defense when you have had pressure moment after pressure moment and you haven't been good on 2-point plays. Again, it's not the end of the world. It's not like the thing that I'm shaking my fist in the air over when I think about this game, but I would have probably just liked to see the Bills play an overtime period because I liked how this game was going for them throughout the entire second half in terms of momentum and who was dictating the game. Also, I realized that I misremembered when I was talking about the Bills going for it and then getting a short field off the punt that set up a score. That's wrong. They got the short field, and then that's when Josh took the sack, and they ended up punting anyways. It was the next 2 drives that they scored touchdowns on longer fields. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, Logan, and their side of this game. Where do you give them credit? Where do you have concerns after this one?
I have nothing new to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they
Valid.
have an elite defense and a shitty offense. They've been able to run the ball recently, like the last 3 weeks, and that's the only encouraging thing I can really say about this offense.
Not today, though.
I know. I mean, coming into this game, Saquon was averaging, I think, 111 rushing yards per game. I'm just saying that, like, that's the only nice thing I can say about this Eagles offense. I think the defense is one of the best in the NFL. I think they have got playmakers at each level. Secondary is really solid across the board. I think Zach Bond is the best linebacker in football. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are destructive in the middle of the field. The addition to get Jalen Phillips at the deadline was massive. Like, Philly's defense is among the best in the league, and that's why they can win the NFC. Philly's top 3 in the NFC to me. They are very uninspiring. I think that if they get down big against a team, that they're going to lose. But Philly's still one of the top contenders. I'm just frustrated, man. I want Hurts to look better one game. I want him and A.J. Brown to light it up and Devontae Smith to get it going, and just not going to happen. It's just, I've seen the Eagles offense is not good, but they can still win games like this because the defense is so dominant. And it's just, shout out Vic Fangio, shout out all the talent they have here. They are so good at making big time swing plays and being great when they need to, man. It's remarkable. Like they come up big in the big spots. So I'm uninspired by Philly, but they're good. And you know what, man?
Sure.
I knew we were going to get this game wrong. Every time Carson and I have both picked Philly, they lose. Every time we both pick against Philly, the Eagles win, man. I swear. Look back at any game picks this year. I think that is the case. I think it's been true every single week this year.
I believe you, and I believe women. And I think everything that you're saying about the Eagles is pretty fair, man. Like, it's such a two-sided coin for them in the fact that they are so great defensively, and that can be the path to them winning these games against really good teams, right? We saw them do it to the Packers. We saw them do it to the Lions. We saw them do it to the Chiefs early in the year. Like, they have beat some really good teams, and I know that things didn't end very well for the Lions and the Chiefs, but when they beat them, they were playing well on the back of just great defense. And we've also seen them lose a number of games because the offense is just so bad. We saw that against the Chargers. We saw that against the Bears where you put up 15, the Broncos where you put up 17. And we can talk about the same bottom line numbers over and over again this year. And you know what? Why don't we? 22nd in yards per drive, 19th in points per drive. That is just really deeply concerning when you're talking about putting together a playoff run. Even if you can say they did it last year, at some point you're waiting for that offense to pop, and it just hasn't happened. And yeah, you're right. The last 3 weeks, the run game had looked better, but I mean, the Raiders and the Commanders, dude, you cannot put a heavier competition tax on 2 games than that. That's as bad as it gets in terms of defense, especially in the NFL right now. But the Eagles defense is legitimately fantastic. I mean, this was a historic unit last year, like one of the best defenses of the century, I would say. And I think there were some concerns. Can they replicate that level of dominance? It's just not the easiest to do year over year with the defense, and they did lose some talent. And I think the biggest position group we looked at is like, do they have the sort of edge rusher production that they did last year? Are they going to be able to replicate that stuff with Josh Sweat out the door? And I think they have found it, absolutely picking up Jalen Phillips, and I like Hunt. I think those guys have both been really big players to step up for this defense. And then other than that, we know how insane the interior defensive line is. The coverage is great. The run defense was really good. Like, they are just flat out so damn good on that side of the ball. They make everything feel hard. And even though the Bills were able to move the ball well enough, again, Philly really did excel situationally. They made the yards pretty hard to pick up for the most part, and they made the points even harder to pick up. So that's what they do. That's how they've been winning these games when they do this year. But I am really concerned about the offense like you. I mean, there's so much to be concerned about. I think the play calling once again was completely bland and predictable, and I do give credit to the Bills defense because they played so well, but this was really rough, man. When you run the ball 26 times for 82 yards on the Buffalo Bills, a team that coming into this game was a bottom 15 run defense statistically since the merger in 1970, Logan, that's a problem. And yeah, again, the Bills were playing downhill, but they also were like able to get a jump on so many of these run plays because, again, they're so stagnant and it's so easy to see them coming. So they were contacting Saquon in the backfield like over and over again this game. And there were none of those big runs that so many teams have been able to put together against the Bills where you get to the second level and you make a couple guys miss because they've been such a bad tackling team in space and they're small. Like, no, they just bottled the run game up and they totally bottled the pass game up. 28 pass attempts for 110 yards. Terrible. 3 of 13 on third down. Terrible. They're just so limited because overall this year, they haven't run the ball close to how they did last year. And yeah, things were trending upwards, but again, against garbage defenses, they play a garbage run defense today and the run game was still bad, but the passing game has always been a concern. Nothing over the middle of the field. Again, we know that can be an issue with Hurts and just so many plays, especially third downs. It was like Hurts gets flushed out. The Bills brought some nice blitzes, some DB blitzes, but like if they got him outside the pocket, he just threw it away over and over again. Like even on gotta have it downs, they just got nothing. And I do think he's got to be quicker making decisions. I think he's got to be more aggressive, just letting throws rip quicker. But I also think their route concepts suck. And there's just so many moments you can look at. I mean, the first series they come out, it's rainy as all hell, brutal conditions for passing. You're going up against a terrible run defense, a good pass defense. and your passing attack, we all know, is quite subpar, and they throw it 3 straight times. They go 3 and out. The next series, they hand it off on a 3rd and 8, just throwing in the towel on that drive. And then their final 3 series, all of them started with a first down run that went for 3 yards or fewer. One of them went backwards, but it's just like, I understand you're trying to eat
Did
clock.
you
Do you have anything, man, that can keep the defense off balance, scare them a little bit? And the answer was no every single time.
I mean, it's been that way the whole year. I don't know if you saw that stat during the broadcast. I thought it was really telling. The Eagles have had the longest average 3rd down distance of any team in the league. And what that says is they're worse than 90% of teams on 1st and 2nd down. They barely get any yardage there, which means most of the time they're either getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage or it's an incomplete pass. Like,
and then you get to 3rd and long. And
it is so concerning when this team is, consistently getting into 3rd and long situations. That's how offenses get beat in the playoffs. You keep getting backed up. Punt the ball and you're just off the field. You don't have the ball in the playoffs. And it's hard to envision a team with an offense this bad going on a run. And I think it's, I don't know about you, man. Check me if I'm wrong. Are the Eagles the worst offense that are going to get into the playoffs?
In terms of production,
I know we still have question marks about some of the teams that are going to get in. For example, and I know they've produced, Pittsburgh or Philly. Who cares? I take Philly. That's a toss up. I think Pittsburgh is so bad. I would maybe say they're worse. And then I go to
I was thinking about actual playoff teams. I was thinking about
Houston,
the Broncos,
or Denver,
the Texans.
Yeah. But it's damn, man, I'm really thinking about it. And those aren't the conversations. And it's ironic because all 3 of these teams have super similar formulas: dominate defensively, eke it out offensively. But I think I actually have the least amount of faith in the Philadelphia offense.
That's fair in terms of results. They obviously have the most talent. And those are the 2 factors we're going to continue to balance against each other all year. And eventually, one is going to be the reason they succeed, or the other is going to be the reason they fail. But in terms of production, in terms of results, the fact that we have not at any point seen that dynamic stretch, it is really, really bad. And I think that obviously Patullo is going to be gone after this year. I think that Vic Fangio is a really good coach. Other than that, I don't like the coaching of this football team. But nevertheless, they got to win today, and they got to win over an 11-win team. But there were some crazy stats to come out of this. The 2025 Eagles are the first team since the 87 Pats to win multiple games in a season in which they did not complete a second half pass, which happened today. That's courtesy of Ben Solak. Great stat. Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback in the play-by-play era, that's since 1978, to go 0 of 7 or worse in multiple games in a season. It's just crazy, pure offensive ineptitude for halves, for games, and yet here they are. They're 11-5. So you can't write it off, but you also have to acknowledge the concern.
Still going to talk shit after the game.
Yeah, who cares, man? He's a ridiculous guy. He is the biggest organization merchant ever. Howie Roseman is the GOAT, and Nick Sirianni is literally riding off of his coattails, and he is riding off of Vic Fangio's coattails, and he was riding off of Kellen Moore's coattails. And now that Kevin Patullo sucks, the offense sucks, and that's just the reality with Sirianni. I also saw some stat that I think there are 10 total halves where a team has 5 passing yards or fewer, and Philly has 3 of them. It's crazy. It really is. So you got to be worried about that. But like you said, it's just nothing new. This is just the problematic aspect of the Eagles formula. But I do think some people are going to try to come out with these huge sweeping takeaways. They totally misrepresent this game that was decided on a couple plays. I've already seen some of the most insane Jalen Hurts agendas pushed ever. I saw somebody hit the everybody's better than Jalen Hurts until they got to be better than Jalen Hurts after this game. And I'm like, man, it'd be great if some of you guys actually wanted to talk about what happened on the football field.
Threw for 100 yards today.
My quarterback didn't have a completion in the second half. You can't beat him when it comes to the moment to rise to the occasion, but whatever. I do think Buffalo did some stuff they should feel good about in this game. It was amazing to see the defense play like this. I don't know if they can replicate it. There are some numbers this year, though, about the Bills defense playing better against good teams. I do think overall the Bills have played their worst against bad teams this year. And I think even though they lose today, again, they obviously had their chances to win this one, but they were pretty locked in. They were just phenomenal. And so I really give them a shit ton of credit for that. It was a really well-coached game too. I liked how they did kind of keep this Philly offense off balance when it came to how they were bringing pressure, and just everybody was really engaged. Coverage was really good. Props to them. Offensively, it's a bad game for the Bills. Brandon Cooks, though, unlocking the deep passing game. This is exactly why they brought him in. Like, obviously they need receiver talent, but specifically they need downfield speed. And just the fact that he was able to win on a deep post out of play action that goes for like a 50-something yard pickup. I mean, they had 2 of those completions in this game. That does matter because we've seen so many times there's just nobody who can take the top off a defense, and they do have to kind of try to dink and dunk their way downfield, which is so atypical for a Josh Allen team, but it just speaks to the limitations of the receivers. Yes, he's Brandon Cooks. Yes, he's old as all hell. Yes, this team probably is going to rely on him too much, but he's doing shit that nobody else has been able to do for this team. And those 2 bombs were good to see. Shavers, man, made the best catch by any Bills wide receiver all season. Like, there were just a couple of contested catches, high points, big plays downfield that, frankly, I haven't expected Bills receivers to make this year, because more often than not, they've been like the limiting factor in this offense. And again, it wasn't necessarily like separation by a guy like Shavers, but he made a big time play. And also, look, they come up short on the final play of the game. You can't deny, though, that the Bills dominating second halves is just real. Like, it is as real as anything. A negative 44-point differential in first halves and a plus 136 point differential in second halves. That is the furthest thing from a coincidence or a fluke. I wish they would just wake up and play half decent football in first halves, because then they'd be a great football team. And instead, these are consistently coming down to the wire, but clearly they do just totally turn on a different gear, and they found a lot of solutions in second half. So we'll see about the health for Josh and Kincaid. I do have a couple more things about this game. I know we've talked about it a lot already, but one thing that you mentioned, the fumble call. I don't want to make it out like, oh my God, what a crime, the Bills were robbed of this game, even though I thought that was officiated incorrectly. And it was definitely a big game-changing play. It happened early on in this game. The Bills had plenty of opportunities. It's not the reason they lost. It's not an excuse. I'm going to make a big picture point, though, that I do think is relevant to this play and a number of other ones. I just think we have to change how we officiate fumbles, because right now, everything that is remotely ambiguous in terms of a fumble situation in real time is supposed to be allowed to play out on the field, which does make sense because you don't want to deprive a team of a chance for a fumble recovery only to then realize it was actually a fumble, but you blew it dead. You didn't have a clear recovery. Now what's happened? You screwed the defense. So I understand the thinking there, but the problem with calling everything that is remotely close a fumble on the field is that our current replay system demands clear and obvious evidence to overturn any call. So what happens is you are giving the fumble the benefit of the doubt on 2 levels. You're giving it the benefit of the doubt with the call on the field, saying anything that's close, we're going to allow to play out, and we're therefore going to call it a fumble. And then with the review system, which inherently favors the call on the field because it says you need to definitively show me something that contradicts the ruling on the field. But you're calling it on the field with a bias towards fumbles. So I just think they've created a fumble bias here where there are ultimately more plays called and held up as fumbles than there actually are because of those 2 factors, the bias towards calling it on the field and then the replay bias. So my take, and maybe this is radical, Logan, I think officials should simply call what they think happened in the moment. Because I think the nearest official thought that that was a forward pass. But again, if it's close, you're supposed to allow it to play out. And then you actually saw him coming in, blowing his whistle. It didn't blow the play dead. They still finished the recovery. But as I saw it, like, he was coming over being like, okay, that was a forward pass. But then they called it a fumble on the field still. And so I just think, again, call what you see and maybe don't overthink it in terms of, oh, we need to keep this play alive.
Let's just get the call right, man.
Well, I know, but that's easier said than done.
I just don't get how on replay like they ruled that. It's just dumb.
Yeah, the adjustment they could make, and this would be complicated and maybe hard to explain, but it would be, we essentially have a different protocol for fumbles because we want to keep the play alive, but then you could say we go into the replay clean slate. Unlike everything else where we just need to have like that call on the field bias, because otherwise it would be so damn hard to officiate every replay. You say in this one circumstance, we understand that we are giving a bias towards one outcome by calling more fumbles than we actually may think there are. So now we just got to wipe it clean and say, okay, it's not necessary to have clear and obvious evidence to overturn. Just flat out, what do we think? Do we think that was a fumble or not? Because I think they would have said this was not a fumble, but I understand them saying it was not clear and obvious. But again, the whole problem there is if they didn't feel like they had to call it a fumble on the field, I don't think they would have. Maybe I'm getting too deep in ref psychology here, but I did think that was
no. I mean, I think that
and reflective of a bigger thing.
Charbonnet shit started a lot of. I don't know. I think this may be a more common occurrence now.
No, you're right. Well, I think it's already been that way, but I think that was the rare example of the inverse, like you're saying, where they ruled it an incomplete pass and it was actually a fumble, and that makes things even fucking crazier and harder to deal with. And I still think they got that wrong. I think that should have been a replay down. I think it's insane that you can have a guy pick up a ball when everybody else has stopped play and the play's been blown dead, and that's going to be like a huge deciding moment in the game. I don't know. I just thought that was bad. You know what else I thought was bad? Tom Brady. I think we need to focus more on merit-based announcer assignments, Logan. I do not think Tom Brady should be promoted to the Fox A team just because he's Tom Brady. I don't think he's good. I don't understand how he was baffled by the Bills wanting to take the 10-second runoff when there were 18 seconds left in the game. What exactly are they going to do with the extra 10 seconds, Tom? Like, the play is all on one play for them. The game is all coming down to this fourth down and then the point after attempt or the 2-point conversion. Any time that they leave on the clock is going to Philly because they're going to now try to go win the game. Or if the Bills fail like they did, they know that an onside kick is a 5% play. And so that's not the priority. They're trying to end the game on this play or send it to overtime on this play.
Yeah, Brady makes me mad. My biggest gripe with him in this game wasn't really that. It was more like him, and I've noticed this with some other players too, just like disingenuous, like, what's the word? Like narrative pushing almost, that I just think is very uncharacteristic about certain teams. Like, I was watching the pregame show with Strahan and all the old timers like Gronk and Terry Bradshaw and them on the Fox Sports pregame, and like, I don't know what Strahan was saying about the Bills. Like, I don't know, it didn't really match up with what I've watched the past couple of weeks. And then some of the stuff that Tom was saying about like Josh, I didn't think was true. Like him going, and it's like, it's so cliche that it is true, but I just think it's not actually an issue with Josh. On that fumble, he was like, oh, Josh has done such a good job of staying away from plays like this. And I'm like, I don't know, he made it seem like his turnover issue. And I'm like, I don't know, man, this was a narrative like 4 years ago. It's not really the Josh that is now. And then some of the stuff he was talking about him making throws. And I'm like, I don't know, Tom. Like, I don't really think these are actually issues with Josh. I think he's just a little hurt right now. And
yeah.
And
do you want to know something I think I've noticed with Brady? I think he's really, really hard on quarterbacks who he feels in any way threatened by, or maybe that's not the right word, but just great quarterbacks. He's hard on Mahomes. He's hard on Josh. And I don't know. He's a competitive son of a bitch, man. I think he might be trying to control the narrative a little bit and say, oh, me. And he's always talking about all the different ways in which he was making his teammates better that nobody ever saw. He was always making sure his teammates were coached up with the right gloves. He was always involved in the defensive game planning. Why isn't Joe Burrow doing that? And look, maybe that stuff is true. I just don't think it comes across very well. You're the only
thing I do like about Brady is Brady breaking down like coverages and stuff, and I wish he'd do that. Well, I will say, because we're not going to talk long about this game, get Drew Brees on big broadcast, man. I didn't catch much of the Patriots-Jets game, but what I did, Brees was cooking on that broadcast. Like he, obviously, I mean, Brees is a Hall of Famer. He may not have the appeal of like a Brady because he's got all kind of rings. I think Brees laps him most as an announcer, man. Like Brees crushes. I really loved his broadcast.
Yeah, Brady's very stilted on top of all this. Like, he's just not a natural speaker. It's
Also,
kind of
man, just
awkward.
him and Burkhart just kind of suck each other off the whole show. I don't know. I don't really
I'm
like them
glad
as
that
a
we're on the same
duo.
page here because you and I suck each other off on the show, but everybody likes that. That's
Yeah, but
fun.
it's like you're my boy, man. They're
Yeah.
just kind of like it's just like
I
I
got
don't
like
know,
this
man.
sort of fake chummy vibe, but like they're not
Exactly,
funny
dude.
at all.
That's exactly how I feel watching them.
Yeah. No, it's not a good broadcast crew. And also, like, when you mentioned Brady saying things that aren't true, like, bro, when he talks about the Bills having to prove they can get the drop back passing game going to prove that they can come back in games, I'm like, Tom, this is the team that has been the comeback kings this year. This is the team that's number one in second half point differential. Later in this very game, you're going to show a montage of all their double digit comebacks. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I just thought there were a lot of bad moments. I muted the game for a while because I was like, this is just really, really bad. And this is just a big picture thing, man. There's this philosophy that it's like, you got to put the biggest name from their playing days front and center. And I get it. He's Tom Brady. He's literally the GOAT, but like him simply being Tom Brady does not elevate the broadcast. You know, the first time he's on the air for like 2 minutes, you're like, oh my God, that's Tom Brady. I got to tune in and see what he says. And then if you realize he's actually not a good broadcaster, there's no value being added at that point. Like, I don't care that he's Tom Brady. I'd rather listen to Greg Olson, who's a way better analyst. I don't care that JJ Watt is calling games for CBS now just because he's JJ Watt. He's not very good. You know who's great? Who's been getting like these C games for his entire career? Charles Davis. Why isn't Charles Davis doing big games? Because he's Charles Davis. That's the only reason. He's not JJ Watt. It's literally just name, and it pees me off.
Me too, bro. I really like the play-by-play guy's escaping me, but Archuleta and his partner, because it's Adam Archuleta and this guy, they always get stuck with like Washington and in New York and the Giants on 1 o'clock on a Sunday. But it's like, I love their broadcast too. I completely agree, man. We need to go back to, and it makes me mad, dude. When I go back and I listen to a broadcast with John Madden and Pat Summerall or Al Michaels back in the day, man, it is, I'm envious. I miss those days. I feel like our quality is
I just think we're not putting the best people on the biggest games.
Because of the names, because of the name value. Also,
the A-team analyst. He's so good.
This may be an unpopular opinion. I don't like Tirico either, man. I wish they'd stick somebody else with Tirico with Collinsworth. I really liked Al Michaels with Chris, and then Al obviously just kind of aged himself out. He got a little bit too old to do broadcasts on Sunday nights. I wish they would sub out Tirico with somebody else with Collinsworth.
I like Tirico. I think he's a natural. I think he controls a game really well. I think he's even good at NBA without really knowing that much NBA, just because he's got that vibe of that smooth control over the game. I think he does have pretty natural chemistry with whoever he's with. I like Tirico and Collinsworth. I know a lot of people hate Collinsworth, but I think
Tirico's good. I just don't like him with Collinsworth. I don't know what it is. I don't think some commentator breakdowns from Nerds.
Yeah, well, we spent 45 minutes on the Bills game, so now we need to spend another 10 on the Bills game announcers. My point is just being a big name does not in literally any way 100%. Just make you a good broadcast analyst, especially not immediately. The idea that we immediately got to foist JJ up to big games his first year, foist Tom Brady up his first, now second year, like maybe these guys can get good, but they're going to need reps like anything. And when you immediately put them in the spotlight, you just subject them to more criticism. And it's just kind of annoying when you're listening to guys who are not only not enhancing the product, sometimes making it worse. And that's what I felt like with Tom Brady today. So obviously no one's going to question his knowledge of the game, but I would question maybe his coaching acumen when it comes to just game management stuff. If you can't understand why you would want to take a 10-second runoff with 18 seconds on the clock when you're going for a fourth down that is going to determine the game on that one play. Let's talk about your Steelers, Logan. Because this isn't a game that we would have looked at coming into today and thought, ooh, that's one of the humdingers on the slate. But it sure was consequential because they had a chance to wrap up the AFC North and clinch the division, and they did not. They lost to the Browns. What went so wrong in this one, and how worried are you about it?
Not worried because I'm not surprised. Classic Pittsburgh, man. Anytime we have a chance.
He's indifference maxing.
Anytime we have a chance to put something away, man, it's just so classic. It's so on brand. Chance to slam the door on Baltimore. Bro, Baltimore played with a backup quarterback this week, and we can't win with our starter. Like, I just wanted so desperately this week for week 18 to be chill. I didn't have to worry about jack shit. Ravens game wasn't going to mean anything. We could just coast into the playoffs. And of course, we lose to the fucking Browns. I'm disgusted. I'm so tired of this. The stat that is going around, and I'm sure that everybody has seen, is that the Steelers are winless in their last 5 games against teams entering 8+ games below 500, tying the longest such streak in NFL history. It is just so classic. It is so Mike Tomlin. This year against the Browns, 2023 against the 2-10 Patriots, that same year against the 2-10 Cardinals, 2021 we tied the 0-8 Lions, 2020 we lost to the 2-10-1 Bengals, man. So it's just like, it's nothing new. This is a team that is missing arguably their 2 best players on both sides of the ball. Shouldn't come as any surprise. No TJ Watt. TJ Watt's not coming back this year, guys. I don't care what any Steelers media says. The guy had a collapsed lung in lung surgery. It is speculation to blur like booking lines or to get teams to prepare for a ghost, man. TJ's not coming back this year. DK got suspended for that dumb shit he did with the fan. He's probably going to be suspended against Baltimore. Like, so much of this game to me. And I put it all on the offense. It's exact. Like, I don't care who we play. If you hold the team to 13 points that you're playing, my offense has got to go get 2 TDs. Like, this is an offense that was clearly without their best offensive weapon in DK Metcalf. There was no vertical passing game. Nobody was getting separation. You combine that with Aaron Rodgers, who was immobile and was under pressure a lot of this game. And Rodgers was bad. I thought Aaron Rodgers was really bad in this game. Rodgers has been really good for the Steelers this year. I thought he missed a lot of checkdowns. I thought he was rattled by this pressure, even down to the last play of this game, where Steelers fans are going to cry that there was DPI on MVS. I agree. I thought it was DPI on Denzel Ward. Hey, guys, I have an idea. How about we score 14 points in this game so it doesn't have to come down to a last Aaron Rodgers save us attempt to win the game? Like, put the Browns away, man. That's really as simple as it is to me. I'm just disappointed, and I'm not surprised. And whoever plays for Baltimore, we're probably going to lose. But that last play of the game, Rodgers, Kenny Gainwell is wide open on a Texas route over the middle of the field. Rodgers never even looked at him. Like, if he dumps that ball off to Kenny G, I think Kenny ducks his head, bucks into the end zone, ball game. Steelers win. Maybe it ends up like the Bills game. Maybe
2-point conversion automatic.
Maybe we go for 2 and we lose. You know what I mean? But the bottom line stays the same. Don't leave yourself in a position where you need a game-winning drive from 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers against the top 5 defense because you scored 6 points against the Browns. And that's just what's so funny, man. The Steelers, to me, it's just discourse is so week to week with this team. We lose to the Browns, and people are like, oh, yeah, let's fire Tomlin. We beat the Lions a week ago. People are, praising him.
Yeah.
This is what the Steelers are. We are a bad team. We are the oldest team in the NFL with the oldest defense, the highest paid defense in the NFL, with no playoff aspirations. No matter what, the Steelers are going to be the worst team in the playoff field. And being the worst team in the playoff field is like...
Come on, you got it.
It's like,
give me a good one. Give me a good analogy.
I don't know, man. I was going to say it's like showing up to the party without a date, man. It's like there's really no point, man. You're not going home and getting lucky, bruh. You're going to go home. You're going to end up lonely in your room, bruh. You're not trying to go home lonely, bruh. You want to get lucky. You want the trophy, Carson. And guess what?
Well, I don't view women as a trophy. I mean, that's a bit disgusting. When
I actually meant the Lombardi, bruh. I just want to have
you started mixing metaphors and things got confusing and very sexist.
At best, the Steelers get bounced in the first round. At worst, we go home with our tail tucked between our legs at 9-8, the same as we've done for the last 5 years, dude. It's the illusion of choice.
How bad are the Steelers without TJ Watt and DK Metcalf? Really bad is the answer.
In the league, maybe, dude. We could lose to the Titans, I think. I think we could lose to the Titans. I think we could lose to just about anybody.
Could you lose to the Jets? No. No. The
Actually,
Jets
we
are
would
something else
we
right
would
now.
still crush the Brady Cook-led Jets.
Yeah, but I mean, they're a bottom 10 team in football, I think is the level that they're playing at without those guys. And obviously the injury is so unfortunate and the DK suspension is so unfortunate, especially because like he can't do what he did, of course, but more and more is coming out about how the fan definitely said some very heinous derogatory stuff to him. And they had an incident before last year where the fan said some very heinous derogatory stuff and DK had to ask to have the fan removed from the game. So again, you can never go and slap at or swing at a fan, but fuck that fan. I'm comfortable saying that. And it's unfortunate that that is very possibly going to derail the Steelers season. And like you said, they're always going to get bounced in the first round, right? But hey, it's better to get to the first round than it is to not get there
Dude,
at all.
I
If
mean,
you're going to be
honestly,
on the
bro,
verge of it.
I would be on a cloud right now if we had just handled business. All I
Yeah,
wanted
you'd be
was a
high as
stress.
hell.
I know that we're going to lose in round 1. I just wanted a stress-free week 18.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, dude, Baltimore hasn't even dominated, bro. They've won 2 games with a backup quarterback to put themselves in this situation. Like, neither of these teams deserve to get into the playoffs.
Oh, no. It's just really, really bad stuff in the AFC North. 2 really, really bad divisions. Personally, I think it's awesome that the 2 winner go home games that we have this year are in those 2 really bad divisions. Everybody else is like good enough that they've safely locked up their spots. And now we're going to get a couple of high stakes games between 2 sets of mediocre to bad teams. But I do think Pittsburgh without DK is as bad as any offense in the NFL, pretty much. So I can't pick them to beat Baltimore even without Lamar if DK is not on the field, and DK is not going to be on the field. The suspension was upheld. So this offense is so extremely limited in his absence, and this is a tough matchup. It's crazy how much teams are running their entire offense away from Myles Garrett right now. I literally saw it with the Bills last week where they didn't have a single outside run to Myles Garrett's side of the field. They repeatedly rolled out away from him and got the ball out of Josh's hands very quickly. Just anything to negate his ability to get home as a pass rusher. But I saw a couple of great stats. Pittsburgh chipped him on almost half of all pass rush plays. And on 17 of the 23 plays they didn't chip him, they either ran quick game or they rolled away from him. We just saw the Bills avoid him for the entire game. So Myles Garrett is being just as impactful, not getting the record, as these teams are doing everything they can, not just to prevent him from getting the record, but also to keep him from wrecking every single pass rush snap, as he was getting 3 sacks a game. Because when you are committing so many resources to going away from him, putting multiple guys on him every play, like you're taking away half the field, and it's just crazy how much you have to do to keep him from wrecking every single play. But it's tough, man. I mean, there's not much to say. It didn't feel like, oh man, the Steelers are way too good for this, you know? Didn't feel like that at all. It felt like there was a possibility this could happen. It's inexcusable, of course, in a spot where you could lock up the division, and it's a really tough break and the injuries are unfortunate, but who fucking knows what you're going to get from this team? This is on the table. It's on the table that they do find a way to win next week. They do get into the playoffs. Winning a playoff game is not on the table for this team, but they could pull out one last act of Tomlin black magic and get to the playoffs.
Cracks me
That's what
up,
they
man.
love to do.
People just get so diluted in Steelers circles. Like Ben, I saw last week on this podcast, was like, oh, yeah, we're going to get into the playoffs. We're just going to roll over who we play in the first round. Like, dude, don't.
Yeah, it's insane.
Don't fall for the Steelers propaganda, man. Don't.
No.
You might
Logan
be the most
Camden, the ultimate
gullible
Steelers realist.
person on the planet. I just don't. I can't buy no damn Steelers propaganda anymore,
you're right,
man.
No, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right to feel that way. We're going to take a quick break for some words from Rocket Money, and then we've got a whole lot of games to talk about on the other side. Guys, this episode is sponsored by Rocket Money. Managing your finances takes time. Canceling old subscriptions, tracking expenses, and sticking to a budget. Luckily, Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you, automatically finding you ways to save and simplifying the process. Less stress, more free time, and a clearer path towards financial freedom all in one app.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. If you've got a goal you'd like to save for, Rocket Money can analyze your accounts to find the best time each month to put extra money aside.
Rocket Money really is extremely helpful when it comes to making you aware of unwanted subscriptions that you want to cancel and just generally keeping you very aware of where your money's going. You'll even get alerts if your bills increase in price, if there's unusual activity in your accounts, and if you're close to going over budget, and also just if you're doing a good job to let you know that as well. So Rocket Money has saved users over $2.5 billion, including over $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. Their 10 million members save up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features.
Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh today. That's rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh.
rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh. The Jacksonville Jaguars, under the leadership of the sexiest, smartest, best coach in the NFL, have tripled their win total from last season. Today, Liam Cohen becomes the first ever first-year head coach to take over a team and take them from 4 wins or fewer to 12 plus wins. That means he is the first ever true first year head coach to achieve that accomplishment. What did you take away from them getting it done versus the Colts today?
I mean, I think the Jags are legit, dude. I don't know how else to feel about this team. I think they're as legit as anybody else in the AFC, man. I don't know who the hell is going to come out of here, but Indianapolis played really well, in just controlling this game and keeping the ball out of Jacksonville's hands. They had to have some things go their way. The Trevor Lawrence interception to Pratt was huge. It
was great play, dude. It was great coverage and good ball skills.
I mean, it was almost just debilitating in a big way, right? The Colts just start marching. They're controlling this game, and then Jacksonville gets that other interception right back, and it swings it right back in their favor. But it's just impressive. T-Law did not play a good game today, and I get that the Colts are insanely limited right now, and they are just so one-dimensional under Phillip Rivers. It's really sad. I saw Rivers try to get out of a clean pocket today, and it was sad, man. He hit the gas, and he got up to top speed, and he moved 3 feet.
Yeah, top speed's pretty slow.
He was 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he bursted to get 3 yards and got tackled for a loss for a sack. The Colts are so comically limited as an offense, and it just felt like a matter of time that if Jacksonville didn't just shoot them in their foot, that they were going to win this one. But Jacksonville's really, really complete, and I feel like I trust them as much as I trust anybody in the AFC, man. The thing is, though, again, the impressive thing today to me is that they won without Trevor Lawrence having a really good game. We saw T-Law put together 3 weeks of really good football, and we saw what Jacksonville is capable of doing when he puts together a good game, and I like the surrounding pieces around him. Liam Cohen, I think, is one of the best coaches in football. I feel like I'm just confident in saying that.
Yeah.
With how Tampa Bay has looked 2 years post Liam Cohen and post Dave Canales, I kind of think Todd Bowles is a little bit of a merchant of theirs. I think those guys were really good offensive coaches, and that was the strength of that Tampa Bay team. Carolina and Jacksonville look good, and their offenses do. And Jacksonville's just really solid, man. I don't know. I think I have them above the Chargers. I'm debating if I should have them above the Denvers and the Houstons and the Bills of the world and where they land in that mix. I think I have them above Buffalo too, man.
Fair.
Unfortunately.
Fair. I think you can argue them above anybody. They're in that top 4 in the AFC for me. I think there's a legitimate argument that they are the most complete of any of these teams, because we can talk about pretty glaring concerns with the Texans offense, with their offensive line, with their run game. We can talk about significant concerns with the Broncos quarterback play. Just overall, those teams have had concerning offensive production. You look at the Jags, and with Trevor Lawrence playing like he's been playing, this is a team that runs the ball pretty well. They haven't been as efficient there as they were early in the year, but they've got a big-time playmaker. They run the ball a lot. Their passing game has been extremely effective as of late. Offense is just putting up points consistently, and the defense has been good all year. They're a good run defense. They're a good big play defense, really good at that. They're 7th in points allowed per drive, 7th in yards allowed per drive. So, like, if you just look at a team that is checking all the boxes at least like a B plus level, Jacksonville makes probably the best case. And I do think that they're legitimately like elite, at least in the sense of what constitutes elite in the AFC this year, where everybody's got their flaws. But I'm just so bought in on T-Law. And honestly, dude, I thought T-Law was really good again today. I mean, I thought he made the one mistake with the pick, tried to fit that ball into a little bit too tight of a window. But other than that, I thought he was pretty excellent. And if you look at the last 5 weeks, I'm not sure there are 5 quarterbacks playing better football than Trevor Lawrence, dude. In that time, 110 passer rating, 269 passing yards per game, 28 rushing yards per game, 16 total touchdowns against 1 turnover. There's just nothing he can't do out there, legitimately. And we've said this stuff, or I've said this stuff for the last couple weeks now, but he's got all the talent, and it's just all coming together. I was thinking about when we had our epic Bo Nix Trevor Lawrence debate. I think Trevor is so much better than Bo. But I remember the one thing that you were like with Bo is Bo's got his legs. Dude, I would take Trevor's legs over Bo. Trevor's been one of the most effective scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been one of the most effective running quarterbacks on designed runs. They ran a speed option with this dude today. Like, he pitched that one, but he's been picking up big plays for them in the red zone, on 3rd down, on 4th down with his legs. And he has been one of the best intermediate over the middle of the field passers in the NFL. The pocket presence is excellent. The poise is excellent. He's been accurate for this month plus stretch, but Jacoby Myers, we've said it a million times, he's just totally changed this offense. Brenton Strange coming back too, BTJ coming back too, but Myers is one of the best midseason pickups I can think of. And I was thinking about it, especially like in comparison to Sauce Gardner for the Colts in division playing each other today. Obviously, Sauce has gotten hurt, but the fact that the Colts gave up 2 firsts for him, and ultimately their season has unraveled after that move, even if it's not because of that move, they still have not gotten good returns on it at all whatsoever. Meanwhile, the Jags season has totally changed for the better after they give up a 4th and a 6th for Jacoby. He's just so reliable over the middle. He's such a good route runner. He's so steady. He's got good feel. He makes the big catch of the play today on 3rd and 11, where T-Law makes a nice throw on an outbreaking route with a free rusher right in his face. Jacoby makes a diving catch. Like, he's just Mr. Reliable. He's Mr. Big play, 3rd down. That's who you're going to. He makes the spacing of this whole offense better, and he's just phenomenal. He's made them a contender, dude. They're 7-1 since they added him. So you've got that going. You've got scrambling T-Law, who had 2 touchdowns with his legs today, and he just feels like he's totally unlocked right now. And I give Liam Cohen a lot of credit for that, and I give Myers credit for that, and I also give T-Law credit for putting it all together like this now when a lot of people had written him off. I myself was concerned with just the crazy inconsistency we were seeing. The consistency has come now in a big way, and he's playing at a really high level, and this offense is just humming, dude. Last 7 games, which they've won all of, they're averaging 32.6 points per game. And even today, I mean, they really got what they wanted offensively. They had 370 yards. They just had the 2 red zone turnovers, the pick you mentioned, and then the failed hook and ladder, which was devastating, but was redeemed by 2 great hook and ladders later in the day. I mean, the Bills on 4th down. Second time Joe Brady has busted that out on a 4th and long. I got my frustrations with Joe Brady. The guy knows when to pull out a hook and ladder. And I'm a hook and ladder enthusiast. I think it works like 90% of the time. The Bears game, you could argue it didn't work as hoped because I think they wanted the touchdown, keeping that ball in bounds, but it got them down to the 3, and it got them another crack at it from the 3. So what a great play. Unfortunately, didn't work on this one. The ball handling, the pitch wasn't quite there, but Liam Cohen called it. So it's good with me. Liam Cohen is my GOAT. I think what he's done this year is incredible. I picked him to be coach of the year before the season. And man, there are a lot of good candidates for that award this year. As we've talked about, Ben Johnson, Kyle Shanahan, not Mike Vrabel, who's probably going to win the award. He's a really good coach. He's just more of a Drake May merchant than these other guys who I think have like fundamentally just rebuilt these teams and do so much to elevate them as offensive play callers. But yeah, I'm really all in on the Jags. I don't know. I don't have a concern with them right now. And I'll have to do some hard thinking about how do I want to rank my 1 through 4 in the AFC. But They probably won't be number one just because
their floor
power.
Their floor feels a lot higher than other teams, though.
Which is crazy considering what their floor was early in the year when BTJ was dropping everything and it felt like T-Law could have multiple turnovers any game.
That's international sex symbol Liam Cohen. That's the effect.
You're cooking, man. How about the other side of this, where international sex symbol Phillip Rivers may be done? We don't know. There were some indications that they might not start him in a really meaningless Week 18 game now. What do you make of this entire Phillip Rivers saga now that it is potentially over? How will you remember it?
Like a fever dream.
Pretty crazy.
I don't know, man. If you had told me a quarterback was going to unretire and come back, I think I would have guessed at least like 20 guys before I got to Big Phil. I would have gone, I don't know, man, Brady, Tannehill, Jay Cutler. Like, I would have gone down a pretty long list. Yeah, dude, I would have gone to Jay Cutler before I got to Big Phil, man. I feel
like Jay Cutler likes football less than any other quarterback you could name.
Yeah, Phil just coaching and kids, like, just wild. Unfortunately, it's kind of a symbol of what all of Indianapolis's offseason is going to be about, what they do at QB. And I think their depth at that position is just as important as what they do with Daniel Jones. I don't know. I mean, they're going to have to make a decision on Anthony Richardson. Like, I think everything is really about QB. Shane Steichen can enhance anybody they put there, and they've got a lot of great infrastructure in place. Do you think that the other position that I come back to with this team, do you think they need to get a number one wideout, or do you think there's enough aggregate talent in the receiving core with Pittman and Downs and Pierce,
I think there's enough.
Warren that the quarterback you think should be beyond everything else, their focus?
Dude, I hope they can just bring back Danny Dimes. Obviously, it's an Achilles. We don't know when he'll be back. But even though some cracks in the armor were showing, they had a couple down performances with him. It's kind of crazy to me. I'm seeing people like lump together the Colts and the Bucs and be like, their downfalls need to be studied. And I'm like, brother, the Bucs suck. The Bucs are terrible. The Colts were playing elite football. Their starting quarterback got hurt. And now they're losing close games to really good teams with a 44-year-old who can't move 2 feet back there. Like, these are not the same. I think the Colts have a really good infrastructure, and they had a quarterback who, flawed as he may be, was executing really well within that infrastructure. I think the line is so great. I think the running back play is great. And I think the receivers overall are really good. And the coach is great. So if it's not Danny Dimes, that's unfortunate because I wish it could be. But I do think, like, if you could just plop a solid vet, I mean, if you could plop a Mac Jones into this offense, like whoever the equivalent of a Danny Dimes may be, and to be fair, they got to buy really low on Danny Dimes, but if you can get into that budget, mid-market quarterback kind of range, I think that works for this Colts team. I think it's enough to make them a legitimately good team, at least. And listen, the Sauce trade right now looks terrible, and I think it was very ambitious and probably an overpay. And at the time, a lot of people were getting on the Jets for this, and I'm like, guys, this is great for the Jets. You get 2 firsts and even A.D. Mitchell, who's a little bit interesting at least. Like, when you're so far away as a football team, it was a heavy price for the Colts to pay. They believed in their roster. Unfortunately, with the Danny Dimes injury, everything just unraveled. But they've got Sauce. They've got a lot of talent on this football team. So it's a dark ending for the Colts, but I don't think that they need to be in a dark place emotionally because there's a lot of good stuff. And for Phil, I think he should be proud, man. I think he should be proud as all hell. And I love the things that he's saying post-game about how he would do this again every day of the week. He's got no regrets about it. Like, it's awesome, dude. He came in here. He led them to 3 competitive performances where they were in all these games against really good teams. And the first game against Seattle, we came on here after and we were like, boy, that's pretty depressing that Phil's the best option. Like, this was a gimmick offense. He completed 2 passes downfield, like 10 or more yards downfield. He had to get rid of the ball so quickly. But honestly, in the 2 games since, like, their offense hasn't felt like a gimmick. The Niners game, yeah, the Niners defense definitely made life easier on them offensively. This game was somewhere in between the Seahawks game and the Niners game, but he still completed a handful of passes downfield. And like, it wasn't the same thing as it was against Seattle, where they're running the ball every time. Like, they threw it 30 times. They had decent success. Obviously, he is not a actual starting caliber player, but if you were going to ask me, like, were they right to go with him over Riley Leonard? Overall, I'd probably say yeah, because he is still so damn smart. He is still accurate. And even if every throw is ugly as hell, even uglier than it was at his prime, and he's always had the ugliest mechanics, and it looks so hard for him to get the ball downfield, and he waddles around, he's still Phillip Rivers, man. He's still got that brain, and it was fun to watch. It was a hell of an interesting experiment, and it went better overall than I thought it would have. He didn't get hurt. He didn't have any disaster games. He didn't have any multiple turnover games. And like, I think the Colts might have been underdogs in all these games with Danny Dimes out there. It was a brutal stretch of the schedule. I think not only does he have nothing to be ashamed of, it's fucking awesome. And I'm happy this happened. And it was one of my favorite stories of the season. I just wish they could have won one of them, but that's okay that they didn't. They're still respectable.
And he got that 5 years of insurance back.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, baby. Pension plan.
He's
Go,
locked.
Phil. Do you forgive him? You've hated him so much for so long. Have you let that hate go?
I don't really care anymore.
Dude,
He's
you
old.
are ambivalence maxing.
How can you hate an old guy? When
You're
Brady
nihilist
went,
maxing.
when
Yeah,
Brady
you're right.
went
No,
to
you're
Tampa
absolutely
Bay,
right.
I let all my hate go. You know what? Because
Dude,
it's like
the things I feel for
old
Clippers
guy
James
quality.
Harden. No, I couldn't agree more. You always root for the old guys, and this is the oldest guy, man. I mean, you know, Vinny and Tom may have him technically, but my God, I don't know that anybody's ever felt
he
older
certainly
out there.
seems older than those guys.
Well, he's a father of 10. He's a leader in his community. He's a football coach.
And
He's
he also is
35 pounds
always
above
talked
playing
like
weight.
a grandpa, man.
Yep. He's the GOAT, dude. I love Phillip Rivers. Let's talk about a team that has more to be ashamed of and yet more to play for. The Carolina Panthers are going into next week 8-8 with a chance to win their division, but they did not take care of business today. They could have locked it up considering the Buccaneers lost, but they weren't remotely close. Of course, playing a great Seahawks team, but what did you take away from this one? A 27-10 Seattle win.
Bryce Young, man. Bryce Young stinks. And then after he stinks, he's okay.
Next week might be the lock-in. This was the tweak,
Mm-hmm.
but he's due for a lock-in.
He is due for a lock-in. Seattle's defense is suffocating. I was so impressed with what they did with this receiving core and taking away basically anything in the field. Carolina kept this thing close for a while, and then I thought it was a real ball don't lie moment. I didn't think that was an interception in the back of the end zone to Mike Jackson. I thought it was a real ball don't lie moment that Seattle got the ball back immediately. I thought his toe was pretty clearly out of the back of the end zone on the white line. Like, live, I agreed. I thought that he had picked it off, and then when they ran the replay, I thought it was pretty clearly not a pick. And then the game kind of swung after that, and then Charbonnet broke off some big runs. They were able to really establish the run and just kind of dominate time of possession after that. And Carolina's offense could never really get anything going. The only thing that I'm still worried about with Seattle is just Darnold, man. That's the only thing that I keep coming back to that concerns me is just how's he going to play in a big game? I thought he was pretty disappointing again in this game. Like, I don't know, man. Darnold's my hang up, and I think Darnold's an above average quarterback. He's good. He's put together 2 years of impressive football, but big games, he is consistently under-delivered, in my opinion. And they win this game, sure, but what's he going to look like in a big spot? You know, I thought the first game against the Rams, he obviously threw 4 picks. Second game against the Rams, he did enough at the end of that game, but I thought it had more to do with the defense coming up big. So Darnold's still kind of my hang up with Seattle.
It's fair, man. It has been a reasonable concern to raise about this team recently. Now, they're 13-3. They're an excellent football team. They have the best point differential in the NFL. Like, the Seahawks are awesome. So we are nitpicking. Like, they're my number 2 team in my contender rankings. But the reason they're not number 1 is the overall offense just not being on the same level at all as the Rams, in my opinion. And I agree with you about Darnold. I mean, for half the season, he was carrying this offense. And like, he was making an MVP case. They were the most efficient passing attack in football. Obviously, JSN is incredible, but the receiving core outside of him was thin, and Darnold was just playing at such a high level. Last 7 games, He's got 10 turnovers. Seattle is 16th in yards per game in that time offensively. They're 13th in yards per play. The defense is increasingly really carrying this team. And the reason I refer to yardage is because there's a couple of games even where they put up points, but the offense really was not good. Like today was one of those where they have 27, but the offense struggled overall. Minnesota, they only had 219 total yards. They end up with 26 points on the scoreboard. Like, there have been some games where the defense is just so utterly dominant that it makes life easier on the offense and they end up winning in blowouts. But absolutely, against great competition, I think you have to worry a bit about that recent offensive inconsistency. But the defense is insane and they're a great team. And the defense is the reason that they blow teams out, even with the iffy offense at times. But they haven't been the well-oiled machine as a passing attack that they were earlier in the year. And we know, even though they run the ball a lot, they've had issues running the ball efficiently. So I really like Seattle. I think their resume is just top 2 this year, and I'm going to give credit to that. And I think this defense is coming to ruin your life if you play them. Like, they do that every single week. But the offense is not doing every single week what they were early in the year, and that trend has been real. And Bryce Young did suck today. But here's what's on the line next week, Logan. History. Because the worst point differential by any NFL playoff team since the merger is -51. That's held by the 99 Dolphins. The Panthers currently are at -67. So if they make it, barring a blowout win over Tampa, they will take the record for the worst point differential by a playoff team since the merger. And Tampa can't take the record, but they'd be pretty close in their own right. They currently have a -33 point differential. So those are the two teams playing for the NFC South. Two objectively bad football teams. And the other part of that odd couple, Logan, the Bucs lost again today to the Dolphins. I'm pissed I didn't pick the Dolphins to win this game because I was thinking about this yesterday. I was I have zero confidence in the Bucs.
Too,
this was a toss-up for me. And I literally just went, the Bucs have more urgency. They have more to play for, so I guess I'll go with them.
Same.
And the Bucs keep losing games in which they have more to play for.
I've been picking Tampa Bay with that logic for like 4 weeks now. This is a must-win. Yeah.
This is a must-win, and it is just loss.
Embarrassing.
It is. How cooked are they? Are they cooked? They can still win the division.
I'm going to pick the Panthers because the Panthers have heart.
That's fair.
And Bryce Young has whimsy, and Baker Mayfield has like contempt or something like that, man. The
no
Bucs,
dog. What about the dog factor?
The Bucs stink.
What about the quirked up white boy
He has
factor?
no mojo. He's like Austin Powers. I think he's lost his mojo.
You're right. No, the Bucs are terrible, dude. Like, they're not just
team.
okay.
They're a bad football team.
They are legitimately bad. Losing 7 of 8 games with this stretch of the schedule they've had, with what they have on the line, is nuts, bro. And now you can add Quinn Ewers to the list of quarterbacks to outplay Baker Mayfield in this recent skid, a prestigious list that includes Tyler Shuck, Kirk Cousins, Bryce Young. That's 4 straight games now. The only team they've beaten is the Cardinals by a field goal, one of the absolute worst teams in the NFL this year. It's just totally nuts. It's actually impressive. And Baker, again, just bad in this one. I mean, the numbers are disgusting over this skid. I read him off last week, but he's got 2 bad picks in this one, both just underthrown deep. He loses it on a strip sack. He's been a turnover machine. He's been totally inefficient. He's been a low completion rate guy, erratic in the pocket, erratic accuracy, erratic decision-making, just wildly unreliable and not dependable whatsoever for this team. And that's been a theme on big drives. You know, he throws another fourth quarter pick in this one, right? That was early fourth quarter when they were down 20-10. We've seen that several times over the last month. There's no excuses here. There's no ambiguity. They are very bad. And I am still going to pick them to win the NFC South. I'm going to pick them head to head.
I am just going to take Carolina. I think
you're probably right.
They are just falling apart. Like, at a talent, what quarterback do I like more? Definitely Baker. What team do I think is more talented? Definitely the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
I have been doing that logic for about
4
weeks now. I am just tired. I will just be wrong. I will just accept it, and I will cut my losses, and I will be wrong if Tampa Bay wins. But I just think Carolina has more heart. I don't know, man. They just have – I have seen Carolina overcome more adversity this year, so I'm going to go with them.
For sure. Well, I mean, they won the head-to-head, and, Logan, they haven't lost 7 of their last 8 games. In fact, they actually bounced back from a slow start to the year. So it's absolutely fair. I do think, though, what you said, the Bucs are more talented. I do like their quarterback more. I like their offensive talent more overall. I even like their defensive talent more. But the thing is, they suck. I just think the Panthers also suck. We've talked about this division going down among the all-time woes. It's going to make a strong case, dude. We should do an in-depth breakdown of like them versus the 2014 Panthers, whoever wins the division, and really dig into the numbers.
What, 09 Seahawks, 2010
Seahawks.
7-9. Oh yeah, baby.
I mean, both those
won a
teams
playoff game.
Mog the Panthers on point differential.
No
That's
doubt.
true, dude. Oh my God. Wait, what? Okay, hold on. Did I spread misinformation? No. What happened? Maybe StatMuse lied to me, because now I'm seeing the 2010 Seahawks had a negative 97 point differential.
Woo-wee.
So, guys, I apologize. I may have tweeted misinformation today, which is punishable by death on Nerd Sesh, because we're trying to fight that.
Actually, I don't know if you noticed, lying's just legal now.
It's actually encouraged. That's why when it's time to be better than Jalen Hurts, nobody is. Everybody's better than Jalen Hurts until it's time to be better than Jalen Hurts, bro. That's what I saw today. When I watched 4 quarters of that football game, that's what I saw today.
True.
Facts, bars, and also W. Okay, let's talk about the Saturday games, because we actually got a couple of good ones before we get to some of the garbage games that we saw today real quick. Chargers-Texans, Logan. This was a huge matchup. 2 double-digit win teams in their own right. Houston comes away with a win. What was your takeaway from this one?
It's just how the Texans win football games, man. This is just kind of their brand, I feel like, at this point in the season. The defense is destructive. They get a ton of pressure, stonewall teams rushing attacks, and then you hope that the offense can figure it out enough. Like, I'm so just uninspired by the Houston offense. CJ Stroud I still like Stroud a lot. I don't feel like he has any kind of weapons with him outside of Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. Like, I really don't like the Houston weapons straight up. If it's Chubb, if it's Jawar Jordan, if it's Woody Marks, if it's Ogunbowale, right? Whoever's in the backfield. Not really anything explosive there. The offensive line is uninspiring. But they've got one of the best defenses on the planet, and like Justin Herbert has no help. So, like, I think the Chargers are cooked. I think the Chargers don't really have a prayer unless Justin Herbert. I can't put it past him. Justin Herbert's Superman. Like, I can't really put it past the guy putting the team on his back to do it. But they feel so far away, just in terms of the help that Herbert has around him. And this is exactly, I'm not even surprised. This is exactly what I thought this football was going to be and why I took the Texans to win this game, man.
Yeah.
I think if the Texans are going to go on a run, every single game is going to look like this. They are going to just eke it out, and their defense is going to dominate.
This is the Texans formula, and like this was a nightmare matchup for the Chargers. Their ability, or really Justin Herbert's ability to find a way, overcome in recent weeks against good competition has been so damn impressive. And the defense also has been playing well, but you can't draw up a worse matchup for any offense this year than the Texans defense, much less the worst offensive line in the NFL.
Real quick, I just don't want to hear any Herbert slander this year after this game, man. I just don't. He is in one of the worst spots, and he consistently delivers, man. He's so awesome.
If you try to slander Herbert after this game, you got to quit, man. Like, you just straight up have no idea what you're watching. Herbert has had some of the most impressive performances that didn't necessarily lead to like gaudy numbers or explosive scoring for his offense this year, dude. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, even like the 10-point game against Washington, I was like, damn, Herbert played pretty well. There were a lot of plays that his teammates left on the field in that one. But this one, dude, he balled the fuck out. Like, he played by far the best game of any of the elite quarterbacks versus Houston. Josh had a hellish game against Houston. Patrick Mahomes had a hellish game against Houston. This is a team that's been shutting down the best offenses in football. Herbert still played really well. This is the ultimate not his fault game in the ultimate not his fault season. And by the way, his team is still 11-5. Like, they've been winning a lot of football games, and they're 8th in yards per drive and 13th in points per drive, and they're an elite third down offense. It's just a testament to how insane Herbert
unsurprisingly
really is.
number one highest pressure rate allowed this season.
Most pressures faced, no offensive line versus the best pass rush in the NFL. 2 huge drops by Gadsden, one of which leads to an interception. Justin Herbert luck, of course, which was the play after he slung a 60-yard bomb on 3rd and 13. Then he puts it right in Gadsden's hands. Next play, he drops it. It's picked off the deflection. There was another ridiculous play where he somehow escaped and made a pass rusher miss, rolling out, 3rd down. Should have been like a 15, 20-yard pickup. Dots up Gadsden wide open. He just dropped it. It's Justin Herbert luck, bro. It's a joke. It's a meme. I saw somebody put it well on Twitter where they were like, there's no way to describe the Justin Herbert experience without it sounding like hyperbole. And it's literally true, because he does so much incredible shit that is somehow squandered by the fools and the blowhards around him. This game, Dicker, who's a great kicker, right, normally is elite for this team, but he misses a chip shot field goal and an extra point. If he makes those 2 gimme kicks, this is a tie football game. I just thought Herbert was excellent. I think there is a legitimate argument he's been the best quarterback in the NFL this season. If you looked at me and you said he's the best doing it right now, I wouldn't be pissed. I wouldn't think that's crazy. Like, you can say he's got to prove it in the playoffs. And like, again, I don't think he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I wouldn't give him that nod overall, but purely on performance this year, there's clearly a case to be made. What I do think he is probably is the toughest quarterback in the NFL. I mean, I'd give a shout out to my boy Josh, who never misses a game and takes so many hits and plays through a lot, and the performance never dips. But Herbert specifically, just his pocket presence and toughness is second to none, because he doesn't just sling it around the yard with defenders in his face, with pass rushers in his lap. Like, he slings it with defenders literally draped all over him into tight windows, and he has to do it over and over again, play after play, week after week, because his offensive line is horrible, because he doesn't have any run game to support him. He's just a superhero. When we talk about guys elevating situations, that was the case I was making for Josh 2 weeks ago. Josh just hasn't played nearly as well last 2 weeks. Drake May, that's his case. He was incredible today, even against the Jets. Phenomenal performance. But it's like those 3 to me who have done the most to elevate their teams this season. And now I would say that both May and Herbert make better cases than Josh. And again, Herbert is never, ever going to win the award, but there is a case to be made that he does deserve the award. And he does make the Chargers scary against anybody. Like, there was this lingering feeling that, yeah, Houston's going to win this game because they are A++ in a matchup with Chargers unit that is F- when it comes to that defensive front versus this offensive line. And they still would have been tied if not for a couple of colossal fuck-ups. They could have been up in this game. You know, they had a red zone pick off the hands of Gadsden. They've been beating teams. They were right in this game still. I can't write the Chargers off. I leave them out of the inner circle just because every game for them is so damn hard, but nobody is surviving and thriving in spite of that difficulty quite like Justin Herbert this year. Guys, unbelievable. Texans are also great. It's nuts, dudes. The Texans and Jags have the 2 longest win streaks in the NFL right now. The AFC South, the juggernaut AFC South, dude. Very, very legit. The Ravens got a win yesterday over the Packers as well. This was a backup quarterback fest, but an important game for playoff implications. Obviously, Baltimore keeping their season alive. What did you take away?
I mean, I think Baltimore just needs to lean on Derrick Henry more, man. I mean, if he's going to give you this kind of juice, like, just makes you wonder about some of the stuff they were doing earlier in this year, late in some of these games, not turning to him. Green Bay's goose is cooked. I thought Malik Willis looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And has consistently looked really, really good when he's played for Green Bay. They're a little too beat up. Their defense gets marched on a bunch in this game. You know, Micah Parsons is out. They lose Kenny Clark. Like, it's like And obviously, I mean, in that trade, right? Like, he's just so good in the running game. If you're going to lose the guy you dealt for him too, it's really bad. So Green Bay's done. They're not going to win the North. And Baltimore still got Derek. Like, that was the big thing to me in this one. I can't believe Baltimore won 2 games with their backs against the wall with Tyler Snoop Huntley at quarterback. I am just gobsmacked, man. Like, and Baltimore's played so shitty this year. I just can't believe that they left themselves where Lamar got hurt badly enough that they needed Huntley to win them 2 games, and he did just that. And it's got me wondering, man.
And the Bears game, right?
Yeah, it's got me wondering. And I know this is going to sound crazy. I wonder if Lamar is still hurt enough that they should just roll with Huntley like for this last game. And I'm not saying he's even played well enough, but just like Lamar is clearly not at 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it worth it? Would you rather just, I mean, the Steelers just lost to Shadur, man, and they're not going to have DK or TJ. I'm just doing a cost-benefit analysis right now.
Fair.
This isn't even me talking with my Steelers homer hat on. Like, is it worth it playing Lamar in week 18?
Well, and there's all this talk about dissonance between him and the organization.
I don't
know
really
how much truth there is to that noise.
I don't buy much of that, but yeah.
I would not be surprised at all if Lamar didn't play this week, and I would not be surprised at all if the Ravens won without him. I'd pick them to win without him. That says a lot more about the Steelers than it does the Ravens probably, but you got to give credit to Snoop for a couple of these performances. Really, this one is much more so about Derrick Henry, but it was high-level backup quarterback play, dude. Really, Malik. Like, he pretty much always balls out when he gets the chance, dude. He was so accurate in this one. He's obviously excellent with his legs. Like, I just think he's improved a lot. And yes, he's in a great offensive system with a great play caller. But if you look back at that 2022 quarterback draft, which was so famously shitty, he easily goes number 2 in a redraft. Shout out to Brock. But I don't know. Maybe if you drop Malik Willis in the Shanahan offense years ago, who knows? Who knows? We're seeing him in a LaFleur offense right now, and he legitimately looks really good. Like, not only do I think he's upper echelon backup, I'd like to see him get a journeyman starting shot somewhere. Some team needs a bridge quarterback. Maybe even the Colts. I don't know. He's a very different quarterback from a Danny Dimes, but Steichen can win with anyone, man.
I mean, yeah, dude, I think there's going to be some teams this offseason that are definitely on the market.
Yeah, and look, he's not going to be somebody who elevates a tough situation, but if you put him in a good situation, I think he can make stuff happen, and I've been consistently impressed by him. He totally gave Green Bay a chance offensively in this one. It was just really bad defensively, absolutely rough in terms of the run defense, and it's tough to be optimistic about Green Bay at this point. Obviously, injuries are the story here. They need to get Jordan Love back out there. But again, quarterback play offense was not the problem in this one. They still got their asses handed to them. The defense was better against Chicago last week without Micah. Pretty good for most of the game until it wasn't. Still kind of fell apart late. So, yeah, nightmare end of the season for them, of course. But I agree with you on the Derrick Henry credit, man. This was baffling last week why they took him off the field when they were up a field goal against the Pats when he had been killing them all day. But this is just one of the all-time greats, man. He's 31 years old. This year, he's got 1,469 rushing yards. That's 3rd in the NFL. 16 rushing touchdowns, 2nd in the NFL, on 5.1 yards per attempt.
And how many times did you hear somebody say this year that, like, they thought Derrick Henry was washed?
Dude, I was worried that he had lost a step early in the year. Coming off of this just incredible campaign last year, he's still a monster. And that sort of running back longevity is nuts.
It's incredible. It's, in my opinion, it's what separates some of the, good all-time running backs from the great, like their ability to hold up and consistently do it. Henry's is insane. And I mean, you hear about how he takes care of his body. Like, it makes sense. Like, the guy, he's made a commitment to making sure that he's available. But this is like the 3rd time I've seen people try to write Derrick Henry off. You remember, that one year where the offensive line majorly regressed and was injured in Tennessee, and everybody's like, oh, he's washed now. Goes to Baltimore. That after that last year, he's washed. It's crazy. And he's bounced back. And when they have needed anybody, man, I mean, because Lamar has been injured all year long, just his played so far below expectation. He's been the guy for them, man. Shout out Derek. He's
True, dude.
one of the all-time greats, man. You said it. Top 10 all-time for sure.
For sure. He defies all standards when it comes to just elite production at this age, and he's the MVP of their season. It's really not close.
How he's done it too, man. You know, even a guy like Adrian Peterson, right, at this stage, he wasn't what Henry is, right?
No.
Like, it's crazy. And I'm going to compare him to this guy. I think Derrick Henry is better than this guy wholeheartedly at his peak. But the way Jerome Bettis was able to play for so long, people forget when the Steelers acquired Jerome Bettis from the Rams, people said that Bettis was done then. And then he played basically another decade with the Steelers and was the engine of that offense until, you know, the very early 2000s. Like, a guy that runs as physically and plays the way that Derek does too is just so rare. Those kind of just tank running backs, man.
But the thing is, he's got so much more speed than
100%.
like the old Bus.
Oh, the Bus had lost. The Bus was you know, when he was in like 03 to 05, he was straight red zone, bleed the clock kind of territory.
This year, Derrick Henry is not going to set the record for most rushing yards by a 31-year-old running back, but he's probably going to finish third. Right now, he's only trailing Curtis Martin, longevity GOAT, Tiki Barber, who I think retired after this season, but he was still killing it out there. And then Walter Payton, Sweetness, another longevity GOAT. So he is in rarefied air. Over his career at this point, he's now 10th all-time in rushing yards, 4th in rushing touchdowns. And another sneaky accomplishment, he still has the Ravens this year as the number one rushing attack by yardage and efficiency. And we always talk about that as being a Lamar stat, his gravity in the run game, his production in the run game. Lamar has missed so much time this year and really has done very little as a rusher when he is on the field, and they still have that title as the number one rushing attack. The fact that they have a shot at the playoffs with everything that has gone wrong in terms of injuries, defense underperforming, especially early in the year, Lamar injuries, Lamar underperforming, Derrick Henry just deserves so much credit for keeping them alive, for carrying them in a crucial game like this. And yeah, man, he really is one of the all-time greats, and I don't think there's been enough conversation about the season he is having. To be fair, the season looks a fair bit better after you go off for the stat line that he had on Sunday, but it's special, historic stuff. Speaking of special, historic stuff, Logan, Drake May today had 2 incompletions, over 250 passing yards, 5 touchdowns against the New York Jets. Of course, no interceptions, because nobody has thrown an interception against the Jets this year. Real quick, as we get into some of these less competitive games, what did you take away from Drake May?
He's my MVP this season, man, and I think the Patriots are my number one team in the AFC, man. I can't believe I'm saying it. I know, and I know how you feel about them with their schedule this season.
The Jets game?
I'm going to take the Patriots out of the AFC.
The Jets game moved you like that?
I know this shouldn't be, but like, dude, holy shit, Drake May is so gnarly, man. The guy can't do any wrong. Also, I don't know, it just made me feel bad for the Bills, too, watching Diggs do what he did in this game, and I'm just like, damn, man, like, even if they had Diggs, I wonder if I look at the Bills, and I know, like, you know, Diggs is
challenge. Don't say something negative about the Bills for 5 minutes. God damn.
Sorry, bro. Diggs was balling this game, though, and I'm just like watching the Bills.
You should feel bad for the Bills because they didn't have Dalton Kincaid today.
True. Dude, that shit with Shakir is so funny to me, too, bro. I've been even talking about it all year, bro. Shakir is so good. And then, like, hey, man, go run to the flat and get behind our right guard.
You know what I was thinking about for the Bills today? I was like, damn, we should have given up a 4th and a 6 for Jacoby Myers.
No,
that dude is a number one.
He's awesome.
A real number one. Yeah, but we're not talking about the Bills. We already did that for the
Drake May's my MVP, and I think I'm going to take the Pats to the freaking Super Bowl, man.
All right, I'm not going to go on my whole Pats thing. I do have more concerns than you when it comes to really worrying about the defense, worrying about the offensive infrastructure around Drake May, worrying about a lot of the numbers being padded by a historically light schedule. But Drake May is the man. Drake May is elite. Drake May probably is my MVP too. I'm not going to make any more MVP declarations until after next week and the season is over, but I love his case. And even when you're facing the worst team in the NFL that has allowed an opposing quarterback to interception ratio of 32-0 this year, that's the Jets. when you play perfectly, you play perfectly. And it's still a strong performance for your MVP case. And I don't understand how he didn't have a perfect passer rating today. Like, what is in the formula? He didn't average enough yards per attempt? I don't know, dude. You throw for 250 something yards, 5 touchdowns on 21 attempts. That
No
seems
picks,
pretty good to me.
19 to 21.
Yeah.
That doesn't
What's
seem
holding
right.
it back? Because he finished with a 157, I believe.
The hell else
What
could he have
1.3
done?
points are taking they off?
Yeah, bro.
Taking they off. I don't know. But anyways, he's insane. And the Jets are,
Tanking.
I would say, pretty
It's
easily the
defined as
worst team in the
tank.
NFL right now.
Yeah. They are tanking football games.
They
starting
are for
Brady
sure.
Cook,
Brady, it's
man.
insane.
And
It's
how the
insane.
fuck, dude, it is befuddling to me. I like Aaron Glenn as a guy. Also, his little dances he does on the sideline when the Jets do something nice, fire me up. Real
Yeah.
swaggy guy. How the fuck does a former defensive back as a head coach, how do they not have a pick this year?
Mm.
How does that happen?
You're saying he should suit up and play? He joked
Bro,
about that.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I figured a defensive back would be able to impart some wisdom about one quarterback that leads to one interception. Is
that going to be the first time that's ever happened? Last time I mentioned a historic stat on a team level, I lied earlier today. By the way, I have the correction to that. I deleted my tweet because I hate to lie to the public. The actual worst point differential ever by a playoff team, or since the merger, I should say, is the 2010 Seahawks at -97. The next worst, the 2011 Broncos, Logan, cover your ears for that one, -81. Then the 04 Rams, -73, and then would slot in the current Panthers at -67. So Stabby's just straight up lied to me. The 99 Dolphins aren't even here, and I'm sorry, and I hope you guys can forgive me. And if not, I will deplatform myself because I deserve it. I do. I'm irresponsible and reckless and dangerous.
Nobody in NFL history has had 0 interceptions in a single season. The fewest is the 2018 49ers, who had 2 in a single season. Dude, even
break the record.
There's 2 teams from 1982, the Oilers and the Colts, in a shortened season with just 9 games.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. The
only
path to them doing it is Josh doesn't play. Mitch Trubisky comes in.
Mitch is giving you one. Mitch is giving.
I don't know, though, because I think they just keep the ball on the ground. This is where I'm like, look, man, if Josh's foot is fucked, he doesn't have to play against the Jets.
You
he
guys
certainly
already
doesn't have to play the full game.
Well,
yeah, we have none of the tiebreakers for the wild card. So we're in the 7 seed. We've obviously clinched our playoff spot. So unless the Chargers or Texans lose, which they both could, especially the Chargers because they're playing the Broncos. Texans are playing the Colts. But basically, we don't really control anything about our own destiny. It helps us to win because we can move up in the wild card standings. But I think we would win without Josh. These dudes have Brady Cook, bro. They've lost their last 4 games by 107 points.
They're not trying
they are
to
getting
win
obliterated. I know, but they're worse than anybody right now. They're worse than the Raiders.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that in the sense
Titans.
of I think it's going to be a cakewalk, man. I wouldn't put anything into that game.
No, I agree. So, Josh, if you need to rest that foot, bro, just kick up on the couch, get a nice recliner or whatever you want, crack a brew, and relax. Because, the Jets are going to lose by 25 to anybody at this point. But there's another team, Logan, that in terms of record, actually, is still worse right now. The Raiders, quote unquote, won the toilet bowl today in the sense that they lost to the Giants. So they now control their own destiny for the number 1 overall pick. Nothing to say about this game. I personally didn't watch a second of it because it's a couple of 2-win teams playing. But with the Raiders now presumptively going to land that number 1 pick, real quick, what are your first thoughts on what they should do with that asset?
I also did not watch this game.
I think they should trade it.
They feel so far away from. They're like the Browns last year, and I thought the Browns made the genius play of trading out, getting multiple first-round picks later, got a guy in the trenches in Mason Graham. I think the Raiders should maybe do that exactly because I think about I don't know who my number 1 guy is. I really haven't dove into NFL draft prospects all that much right now. I will as we get closer into the top guys. Mendoza, I really do like as a quarterback just in terms of his processing, but like bro, you put anybody under center. I just think it would be a mistake to take a quarterback. You're going to ruin whatever quarterback you draft. So I'm with you, man. Unless there is a home run edge or tackle talent, that would move me enough for the Raiders if that guy was on the board. Right now, I don't see that guy, so I would be trying to maximize my future assets because the Raiders don't just need one spot. They need a whole team, man.
I agree. Seems like for the most part, the consensus is that Mendoza is going to go number one. Personally, I think that that's a mistake, even though he is a former Cal Bears legend. He may have transferred, but we claim him, and we claim him for life. I just honestly don't think he's a number one overall talent. I think this is a classic case of quarterback neediness driving quarterbacks up in terms of their draft value. I think this is a weak quarterback class. I just don't think he has the upper echelon tools needed to justify going number one overall. And I think he would fail if the Raiders took him. I think everything around him would be that horrible, dude. I mean, we're talking about one of the worst offensive lines ever, one of the worst run games you've ever seen, even though Genty, I do believe, is talented. And to plop him in that spot, I completely agree. They should get a haul. They should actually build up this roster, and then they'll have probably a chance at a better quarterback talent down the line anyways, in my opinion, who they won't be sabotaging by dropping him into this hellish situation. So we agree on that. Can they resist the temptation of, ooh, look, we took our franchise savior number one overall? I don't know. It's a hell of a drug. It's a hell of a temptation, but I think they would be much better off actually stockpiling assets because so much needs to improve, so much for this team. Saints-Titans, Logan, two bad football teams, but the Saints are on a bit of a roll right now, and this was kind of a fun young quarterback duel between the rookies, Tyler Shuck and Cam Ward. What'd you take away from this one real quick?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Shuck continues to look really good. You know, say what you want about the competition the Saints are playing. He looks really good. Chris Olave is balling. Cam Ward has some bad moments in this game, but also has some just holy shit moments from every game where he showcases his creation and his arm talent. DK looks really good. I think he broke the record for all-purpose yards from a rookie in this game. He's really talented. This is a really fun game. I was just really impressed by both these quarterbacks, man. I don't Shuck is just making me wonder, man. Like Ward, I'm sold on. I think has the tools, the sack avoidance, the leg creation, the arm power. Like I think Cam Ward's going to be a top, 12 quarterback one day. But Shuck, man, he's just making me wonder if I just overlooked him and if he's actually a starting caliber guy in this league, man. And like, should the Saints bank on him being their starter next year?
I think he's going to start next year. I think he's definitely earned that. He deserves that. I underestimated Shuck. I should apologize. I was leading a movement earlier in the year, the fuck Shuck movement. As a Spencer Rattler, truther, somebody who was highly invested in his success, considering he was my only quarterback on the 32-team league, I got pretty screwed when he got benched. And I didn't think he deserved to get benched because I thought he was playing totally fine. And I think Rattler is fine. But Shuck has been better. He's 26, so he's not your typical rookie, obviously, in that sense. But maybe I held that against him a bit too much. Maybe I'm ageist, and I probably need to look in the mirror and figure out some stuff of my own. And I'm trying to get better, Logan, in 2026. And Tyler Shuck has been impressive. He's just better than I thought. He's a pretty good athlete. He's a solid mover. He's got a pretty good arm. He's got great size, obviously. He was very accurate today. He was poised today. He has had some issues just in terms of taking sacks because he is mobile, but he's not necessarily like super twitchy, and so he can kind of get caught in a spot where the pocket collapses and he can get brought down for sure. But I remember when we thought about this team preseason, our big concern was, are we looking at historically bad quarterback play potentially? Not the case at all for the New Orleans Saints. Quarterback play has not been the problem at all. And now with Shuck actually making some plays for them, they've won 4 straight. So
copy paste that take about the Saints QB room and let's paste it on the Jets.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I was not expecting Brady Cook to be getting any reps for them, but Fields and T-Mobile were both horrific. Honestly, Logan, that's kind of a good question because they're in that sort of conversation now. Their quarterback numbers are horrific, and their opposing quarterback numbers are elite. That is the disparity of the New York Jets. But shout out to Shuck, dude. I think we just got to see more, but he's absolutely deserved the opportunity to show us more. And I think he will be starting for them next year. Cam Ward is going to have the sickest rookie highlight reel ever. Some of the highlights will not end up being converted because he made a sick throw that got dropped. That's happened a lot. Or he made what appeared to be the craziest throw ever as he was falling down on 4th down. Turns out he actually was down just barely. But that's still going on the highlight reel because it's sick. And I'll lie and I'll tell people that he got it off. He did hold the ball for 4.1 seconds today, which I believe is the longest time to throw in the next gen stats era. So he's got to start to process quicker, make quicker decisions. Even like the final 2-play sequence. I mean, didn't the Titans have 18 seconds and that all got used up in 2 plays? Because he was just holding it. And it's like they were in a desperate situation at that point, but you don't have to get it all at once. You don't have to try to make the superhero play every time. Cam Ward needs to learn that as much as anybody, but he does have so much impressive talent that I am a believer in his for sure. Also, shout out Jeffrey Simmons, dude. Why? Because he's just balling out. And oftentimes when you're an interior defensive lineman balling out on a shitty team, nobody talks about you all year. But he just had like a totally dominant rep where he swallowed up Shuck today, and he's got double-digit sacks from the inside, and he's a damn good player every year. Shout out Jeffrey Simmons.
Dude, shout out Jeffrey Simmons. That guy's a beast.
Thank you.
Dude, the 2025 Jets, I think are bottom 5. I'm trying to figure out how many yards they had today from the boy Brady Cook to calculate. I think they're bottom 5 in fewest passing yards per game by an offense since 2000. I mean,
hell yeah, dude.
145 passing yards per game. Up there with them, the 05 49ers led out by rookie Alex Smith. The 05 Chicago Bears led out by the legendary Kyle Orton. Oh my God, dude. I mean, I'm just like, they have got a real conversation as one of the worst quarterback rooms of all time. Up there, the 2000 Bengals and the 09 Browns, man.
Yeah. I want to see where they rank just in terms of fewest net yards per pass attempt, because they are averaging 4.4, which is dead last this season, and I think has got to be one of the worst ever. And that accounts for sack yardage lost, which was a problem with Fields and has been a problem for this team overall. It's a problem with Brady Cook as well. But yeah, they're special kind of bad. Speaking of special kind of bad, dude, Bengals Cardinals. All I have to say from this game is relegate Arizona. Yes, sorry.
I do like the offensive line for the Jets. I actually don't think they're that bad off. I think if there's one thing I can say nice about the Jets, I think that they have a little bit of something with the framework for an offensive line for some quarterback maybe to step in there, man. I like some of their guys. McBride
Jets.
broke the single season record for tight ends. That's a pretty big deal. And Joe Burrow just put belt to ass on Arizona.
Logan, who do you think
I think he's the best
fewest
tight end
wins
in football, man.
Yeah, it's a strong case to be made. He's a great receiving tight end. A lot of garbage time yardage this year, but I don't hold that against him. He definitely makes a case. I mean, I would say he's probably had the best season. I might still take Kittle because of the blocking or Bowers, but he's up there. Who do you think has the worst record in the NFL since 2022 of all teams? Last 4 years.
Cleveland.
Nope.
Is it
Guess
Arizona?
Again? It's the Arizona Cardinals, dude. They're tied with the Titans, but how crazy is that?
That's nuts.
This is going to be their 3rd time in 4 years winning 4 games or fewer. And I feel like they don't get beat up on and treated with like absolute bottom dweller status like they should. They've been literally as bad as anybody. And sure, you can say injuries to Kyler, but my God, they are a disappointment every year at this point. There are a lot of people who were like, this is going to be a frisky playoff team. I remember I even thought they were going to be like the definition of mid.
They did have
games, I think, and people were like, "Oh, you're not high enough on them."
I don't want to cut them any slack.
Don't cut them any slack.
Definitely not good, but like they did have like 4 or 5 1-point losses this season.
Logan, it's their third time in 4 years winning 4 games or fewer. We stopped cutting you slack.
I'm
and
not
there's a
trying. Like, I'm
pattern.
just saying.
No slack. No slack is going to be cut over here. The Cardinals are an embarrassment, and I think they should be relegated. Throw them in the new XFL, the XFL 3 this time. It's sexy. That's what they're going to call it. Yeah, I don't know. They have a point differential that's probably not even that far off from the
you
Panthers.
asked about the fewest net passing yards
per attempt. Yeah.
Per attempt by a team.
Mhm.
Since 2000, the 25 Jets are number 10, or excuse me, the 25 Jets are
10th
number
worst.
they're number 13. The 23 Jets, I got pump faked, are number 10.
Oh, go Jets.
Yeah, a lot of the same company that we mentioned earlier, but that's about right.
On that uplifting note, let's get to the super chats. Ryan says, if you guys were bettors, would you choose NFC West to win the Super Bowl or the field? Great question. I would go NFC West.
I would too. I think they've got the 2 best teams in the field and a feisty third one. I just like my chances.
I also just think, as I've said many a time, the Rams are a level above when it comes to just their complete excellence as a football team. And like, I wouldn't say they're an odds-on favorite, obviously, but if you give me the Seahawks as well, and even the Niners with the real outside chance, I'd give them, yeah, I'm getting the 2 best teams in football and the clear best team in football. It's a good question, but I would take the NFC West. Matt says, Bears don't feel like a dynasty, but the next 49er type team. Also got to feel bad for the Bills. They still got Allen, but long-term, they have questions on how to retool long-term with Patriots looming.
I mean, I wouldn't compare them to the 49ers. I think that's a bad comp, actually. The Niners are unique. Yeah, just because like they don't have a superhuman at quarterback. I think the reason that I look at the Bears in that way is just because I think Caleb is so special. And if that's where you disagree, and dynasty is probably not the right term. I just mean in the sense that the Bears have one of the strongest
off team, maybe.
One of the strongest bedrocks. I'd say, like, if you're asking me what team I would want to take the framework of right now for the next decade, the Bears would want to be one of the top teams, I think, just because they have a coach I love. They've got a quarterback that I believe in that's going to continue to ascend. Like, where they rank on that list, I don't know, but Chicago has one of the brightest futures of any team. And that's just kind of what I'm getting at. I really like where they're trending and where they're headed. And Caleb's still on that rookie deal too, man. The fact that they figured out, like, I think the next 3 years are really, really crucial for Chicago because you figured the offensive line out. You've got a lot of really good receiving talent in-house. The defense has taken some steps forward from being, a bottom feeder from last year. Like, the iron is going to be hot the next 3 years for Chicago, and I think there's a real chance to capitalize if they play their cards right.
Yep, it's a very valid take, and I, too, like their infrastructure a lot. On the Bills front, yeah, the Bills roster just hasn't been that good for a while. And here they are. This is the least I've enjoyed watching a Bills team easily since 2020, mostly because, well, the defense has had many an infuriating game. Today they were excellent, but they've just spent so much time trailing. And even though the comebacks are great, the comebacks are only great for like the last 10%, where it's like, oh my God, they actually did it. Other than that, you're watching the team trailing. It's stressful. There's a lot of pressure. But they're still 11-5. I still think they can make a deep run. If anything, there were a couple of encouraging things out there in terms of things that haven't been good being good today. So at least you use the word retool. I like that, Matt. I agree with you there because that's what it always is with Josh. Multiple times people have tried to declare that it's time for the rebuild. This is the year that they're going to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to have to see it to believe it, man. And I'm never going to predict it just because the offensive floor has been that consistently elite. They're a top 3 offense like every year, and we can nitpick and we can talk about the things that went wrong today, but you do have to keep that big picture perspective. But I agree. The Patriots are looming, and they have Drake May. That's the biggest thing. Vrabel is a good coach too, but they have Drake May, and he is going to do a lot to elevate that offense for years to come. And the Bills just need more talent on this football team. They need more talent in the receiver room. They need more talent on the defense at multiple levels. And I hope to God one year they can actually do it so we don't have to talk about these same things every year. I also hope to God that Ed Oliver comes back for these playoffs because, I don't know, that might be the difference maker when we talk about this flawed AFC and the slim margins that exist. Andrew says, Shout out Trey McBride. Love you guys. Keep it up. Thank you, Andrew. We love you.
We love you too, Andrew.
And shout out Trey McBride. Amadou says, for Mr. Camden, what is your level of optimism for the Steelers going back to uber competitiveness if you guys win the Mac Jones sweepstakes coupled with a solid draft with a stud receiver next year?
It's a lot of moving parts. I'm going to be honest. I'm not really inspired by the Mac Jones sweepstakes. Uber competitiveness is just not on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it hasn't for 5 years. And you're talking about people saying the Bills need to blow it up. The Steelers need to blow it up. It has never been more obvious this offseason. I think I really like Omar Khan's aggressiveness. I wish Omar Khan had been the general manager for the last couple of years with Big Ben when there was an actual Super Bowl window potentially, because you had a Hall of Fame quarterback and you still had Hall of Fame offensive linemen like David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey. Unfortunately, that window closed really rapidly with the elite defense that we had. And I don't want to act like there's zero young talent on this Steelers team. I know that I am really pessimistic. There is. Derek Harmon, I think, was an absolute crush of a draft pick for the Steelers defensive line that needed a replacement for Cameron Hayward. I think Joey Porter Jr. this season has quickly emerged as a guy who's taking a leap to becoming a star cornerback. I think Zach Frazier and Troy Fontenot and Dylan Cook have kind of emerged as potential long-term starters for the Steelers at the offensive line spot. But what I'm saying is these are good starters for a young team. When you look at all the stars on the Steelers right now, they're all really old. Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone soon. DK Metcalf is no longer going to be a number one in this league soon, and he's still going to be paid $20 to $30 million per year. Cameron Hayward is not going to be in the NFL much longer. I'm just saying, a lot of the guys are relying on to give them. Kyle Duggar has been a revelation for the Steelers this season. I'm so glad they made a move to acquire him. They have good players. I don't want to act like the Steelers are one of these dumpster fire kind of teams, but they're going to get a lot worse next year, and they're going to get a lot worse over the next 2 to 3 years, because the reality is the roster's really old. And so unless they have this kind of transcendent draft, they're not going to be one of these upper echelon teams. I expect slight regression over the next couple of years if they stay on the course. And instead of that, I'd rather just bite the bullet and restart. So long-winded, I felt this way about the Steelers for a long time. And if they try to get a quarterback, if they try to do this in push to uber competitiveness, I think they are chasing their tail. I think they are chasing a ghost. They're trying to find something that isn't real.
I agree. Matt is back. Thank you for another donation. I know you pushed back on this earlier in the season, but I will once again bang my fire John Harbaugh drum for Lamar's sake. Valid. I'm there.
If push came to shove, you're always taking Lamar.
100%. And I think the value of Harbaugh has always been that he's just philosophically a guy you like. He's a culture setter. He's a program builder. That's kind of the archetype he falls into. And I just haven't liked the Ravens culture this year. I think there's been some weird moments with him in terms of the messaging. I don't know that he's clicking with the players this year. I don't think he's done a good job hiring coordinators recently.
I think Harbaugh's in an eerily similar spot to Tomlin a little bit, man. Just in terms of reputational kind of fan bases with really high expectations that are getting kind of restless.
I do think the standards should be higher for the Ravens, though, because they have Lamar. And so there's just a different level of talent and dynamism there. Whereas it's you can say the Steelers are just swimming in place and there's no value in winning 10 games, but they are doing it with talent where you're damn, how'd they win 10 games? That's impressive. The Ravens are they should be better. What? They have 3 playoff wins with Lamar Jackson? That's insane. That's where we're at with them. They might not make the playoffs this year. That's disappointing. That being said, if I were to list the Ravens' problems this year, Harbaugh wouldn't be at the top of the list. I mean, health has been a big problem. Lamar's performance when he has been on the field has been an issue. And there's the lack of offensive talent around him, how bad they are in the trenches. There's a lot of stuff. But I would say when you are viewed as this sort of CEO, head coach, culture guy, hiring coordinators is a really important part of your job because you need to have people who can handle those play calling duties. I don't really like Monken or Zach Orr. So I think he did a great job with Mike Macdonald, who, by the way, now is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. And I should have mentioned him in the coach of the year conversation, especially in tandem with Clint Kubiak calling plays for the offense. They're amazing. Seahawks have overachieved a lot. Once he left, though, I don't really like how they've replenished. I think you could even go back to Greg Roman and say he wasn't a good hire for them. So I think it's fair. If you're like, hey, we got to shake shit up, we need to restart, I wouldn't be like, no, you need to protect John Harbaugh. But I will say again, I don't look at this year and think he's the problem. And I don't look at their playoff losses and think he's the problem. I look at their offense putting up 18 points per game in the playoffs under Lamar, and I say that's the problem, and that's not a Harbaugh thing. But is he elevating them? No, he's definitely not. Ben says, who's better, Shanahan or McVay? Are they the top two coaches in the league? I think they probably are.
I would marginally take Shanahan, but I mean, that's kind of a coin toss. What about Sean Payton? I don't know. Sean Payton's the first guy that I think of that I would put up there.
I don't think he's quite Shanahan McVay level, but he is very good. And I think all the other dudes who we've mentioned, like I'm ready to put Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson there because I think those guys were the most obvious home run hires. Like when you are watching a play caller and you go, oh yeah, that guy's absolutely brilliant. He's elevating this offense so much. You should hire that guy to be your head coach. By the way, I think there's often like this sort of stigma of like some of these nerdy guys, nerds, shout out to the nerds, are like, oh, what if they're freaks? Mike McDaniel got this, and Liam Cohen got this with the Duval, and Ben Johnson kind of got this, and they've all done great work. And McDaniel, I don't think is as good as those guys, and he's a little bit weirder, but still, even earlier this year, I was like, man, maybe he's just destined to be the best OC ever, but he doesn't have what it takes to lead an organization emotionally. And now even McDaniel has coached his ass off, and he's going to save his job because they've won 7 games, and they just won with Quinn Ewers against the team trying to make the playoffs. That's a sidebar, but I'm just saying I think Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson are that legit. I think they are like franchise savior kind of great coaches.
LaFleur
and
too.
Mike McDonald too. He's as good as a defensive guy can get. LaFleur is really good, but I would still go Shanahan and McVay. And I think the only knock you can have on Shanahan is like some of the clutch play calling stuff, or maybe you could nitpick. But my thing is nobody has a more proven resume of elevating the team offense, regardless of quarterback play, finding running backs off the scrap heap with receivers in and out of the lineup. The Niners being towards the top of the league in all these offensive metrics since 2018, when you consider the players who they've had, it's pretty damn impressive. I mean, they've had a lot of talent, but if you specifically just look at the quarterbacks, Jimmy G, Purdy, and the Mullins and Beathards of the world's filling in, nobody else has done that. So you can say McVay, he's got the Super Bowl. Shanahan has never had a quarterback talent even close to Matt Stafford. And if you put McVay in the Niners spot, maybe they would be as good as Shanahan has made them. But the fact that he's done what he's done, considering all they've been through, I do give him the nod there. But I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those two. And their head-to-head battles are always electric. Supernova says, is Mike Tomlin the head coach of the Steelers next year?
Yep. I think there's a disconnect between the Steelers organization and their front office and the fans. I don't think the new Rooney that's in charge, I just don't think he's really got his finger on the pulse, and I don't think he understands the kind of how disgruntled fans are. So, yeah, I think this saga drags into next year, and I wonder if it just continues going on, and the Steelers are just destined to do this for I don't know, the next 5 years continued. I don't really think I think Mike Tomlin has tenure. I think that the Steelers organization, the way the Steelers organization feels and the fans feel, I feel like are miles apart. And more so than anything else, this is me betting on a historical precedent. If we were having this conversation, say, about a Jets head coach, the Jets always fire their coach. The Steelers have had 3 head coaches in the Super Bowl era, right? Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. They've never forced anybody out. They waited it out with Chuck Noll because he had tenure. They waited it out with Bill Cowher, and Bill finally got his Super Bowl. I just think this is an organization that doesn't make moves like that. So if you asked me to make a call, I would bet on the track record that this isn't an organization that makes moves like that, and Tomlin will probably be back.
I think you're probably right. I don't know at what point they're going to draw the line, but maybe they're not ever going to do it.
Yeah.
Or maybe at some point it'll be a very quiet, hey, Mike, have you thought about retiring? Have you thought about maybe trying to do something
that's
else?
my thing. I think that if the Steelers and Mike Tomlin separate, it's going to be Mike Tomlin making the call saying, I want a fresh start, or this has run its course. I don't think the Steelers are going to make that call.
It is very old-fashioned. The reality is it's rarer than we might like to think that coaches get fired while winning, even if they're not winning a ton, even if they're not winning in the playoffs. If you're stringing together winning season after winning season and there's never that dip, a lot of owners are very tentative to let you go. There's just conservatism there. I don't know. There's just like a fear of, I guess, what if we can't justify it? What if then things get worse? But you can still see ways in which coaches are holding teams back. And for Tomlin, in some ways, he holds them back by lifting them up in the short term, which really restricts their ceiling in the long term. So I agree. I don't think that he's going to be gone. Oh, we got one more super chat. Miscellaneous Cam says, thoughts on Caleb? Played good despite loss, in my opinion. I agree.
I do. I think Caleb's steadily improved this year. It hasn't been all consistent. It hasn't been always upwards, but I think he's gotten better week by week.
He has, dude. He's on that top 10 trajectory. I see it. And obviously that was the expectation when he was drafted, all that and more. But I think this has been a convincing year pushing him in that direction. He's still got his flaws, still got the things to work out, but he's getting better on all fronts, and the talent is immense. Thank you to all you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. Hope you enjoyed this slate of NFL action. Hope you enjoyed the holiday season up to this point. Of course, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you may celebrate. We hope that it was lovely. And we hope to see you guys very soon. We've got more shows coming just down the road, of course. NBA. We'll see you next Sunday for more NFL stuff. And you know where to find it all across our YouTube channel, or you can listen to all of our full episodes across all audio platforms. You can follow us across social if you want, TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh to see clips from the show, to see graphics from the show when we rank shit, and of course to see all of our trivia content. And if you want, you can join our Discord and be part of our community over there and chat with the gang. So with that, one more week of regular season football, Logan. Crazy, man. And then we are into one of the most anticipated postseasons in a while for me, because it's going to be one of the most unpredictable, one of the most wild, and potentially one of the wettest. So we look forward to that journey with you guys. But we still got to wrap up this regular season first. And with that, as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.